Political football. I mean, that's the term. I guess that's the terminology that we are going to have to use going forward. Political football, that from the mouth of one NBA Commissioner, Adam Silver, speaking on a panel yesterday in regards to Caitlin Clark. It is a Friday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones is here. As always, get social with us at Rich Q On Cue, on TikTok at Rich Q on the mic. Like, comment, and subscribe. We've got a very busy show, hoop-centric on this Friday, a very late July the 17th, 2026. Get in early and often on the conversation. So we will get into what transpired yesterday on the CNBC panel. We'll give you the injury report update on Caitlin Clark, more mass fallout. We're going to break up the monotony at 3:05. We're going to talk some NFL AFC North preview with our NFL insider, Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. 4:05, Jonathan Marshall on the NBA and the LeBron watch, if anyone actually cares. I've got some thoughts on that as well. But as I mentioned, hope everyone's having a good Sports Friday and you gear up for your weekend. Lots to get into over the next hour-plus edition of On Cue. And very easy to get in on the conversation. Comment. That's what we love with you guys when you comment in. And let me know where you're commenting from. I don't care. State, country, overseas, in seas, up and above, below. I don't care. Just get in on the conversation early, often, because we've been on a roll with you guys chiming in. So yesterday, where do we begin? So yesterday you had the panel, the state of affairs, if you will, in the WNBA. And, yesterday's show, we talked a lot about the perception, the optics surrounding this league, the narratives that have been fired off regarding the WNBA. Now you've got more players speaking out against some of the racist hate, which they should. We also talked a little bit about, again, controlling that aggression if you are one Caitlin Clark. Because now, as we talked at great length on Thursday's show, it's a pressure point. It's a boiling over, right? And if you missed yesterday's show, we don't need to rehash every single detail, but I firmly believe right now she's at her breaking point. Couple more games left. You have the All-Star break right around the corner. I don't know if that's going to be good for her. I don't know if that timing is going to be, it's going to help her. But yesterday, I thought Adam Silver did a couple things. Adam Silver, and optics are everything. So Adam Silver was, I would say, he had a good assessment of Caitlin Clark and her role when you talk about the WNBA and all these controversies surrounding her, right? And he really didn't get into the report that he intervened with Humperdinck, Commissioner Cathy Englebert. And we talked about this at great length. Whether he did or not, I believe he did. He jumped in that decision to suspend Alyssa Thompson, suspended for one game after the throat punch or the fist to Caitlin Clark's throat. And then it was upgraded to a flagrant 2. We all know by now. So they're all sitting there talking at the Game Plan Summit, which was held by CNBC and Boardroom. And, the fact that he used some of the terminology that he used and the political football, that kind of opens up eyeballs, right? To sit there and say, I've known her very well, incredible player, incredible person, focus on being the best that she can be, all true. She's become you can't be a bit of anything. You can't be a little pregnant. A political football in this country, and I think it's incredibly unfair to her. I don't think the issue is ultimately about officiating. That I have a problem with. It's become political ping pong with her. She's a young woman who's trying to improve her game. Now, yes, you can argue those remarks by the NBA commissioner, and again, if you're not familiar, the NBA has a 42% equity stake in the WNBA. They're doing all the heavy lifting, and then it's split between the league and outside resources, right? So if you want to argue in one breath, he kind of got to the heart of the matter. But here's the other thing. When you have that position of power, like Adam Silver does, and you make a statement by that, no matter what, there's going to be a little bit of I don't want to say uproar, so to speak, but kind of raising of the eyebrows, because everything is optics. And the fact that, Humperdinck's right on stage earlier in the afternoon for the sponsored panel was not asked about the report incident is a little interesting. But be that as it may, we know the conversation when you talk about the WNBA, you talk about the players, you talk about the inclusivity, the diversity, you talk about the divisiveness. It's always hijacked by something, right? Some of you guys commented yesterday, you started talking goofy, mentioning, Caitlin Clark, Congress Clark, whatever, Congress Clayton. I mean, it's all cynical, right? It's all cynical. But the bottom line is, if you're talking about Adam Silver, the NBA holds 42 equity stake in the WNBA. Clark is their most popular player. She's a catalyst for the league's growth, period, in recent years. Explosive growth. But then when he comes out and he's saying something where you're like, finally somebody in power is defending, then you sit there and you say, well, it's not about the officiating. It is. That's like the crux of the argument, is it not? It's like when you kind of push Roger Goodell during these conversations talking about the officiating in the NFL. And Roger Goodell always comes out and says basically, we know that, there's human errors involved, but we believe that our officials and the zebras and the blah, 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 blah. So in one breath, he's saying the right thing where, you want to defend her, right? You want to defend her. But I also think he did a little more harm than good by basically hedging it, saying it's really not the refereeing in the league. Now, ultimately, unless he was running the league, then he really has more of a say, but he's not. He's really not. And I think the other thing is when you look at the NBA, he's done more harm than good when it comes to the officiating because, again, it's all about the what? The rapid foul baiting, the inconsistent, the whistle standards. You want to defend the product. Well, you still want to do it in the WNBA. So there's the standards are very inconsistent because we know what goes on in the NBA, the foul baiting, the flipping, the flopping, everything. Everything. So now you have an opportunity because you do own 42%. You basically allowed the WNBA to exist. You guys did, the NBA did all the heavy lifting, so to speak, to get it off the ground. And then you kind of give them an out. And that's a problem because if you actually had a hand in pushing Humperdinck and turning around and suspending Thomas, then that means you don't like what you're seeing in regards to the officiating. And yet you acknowledge it needs improvement, but you really kind of decline to confront or talk about or address the hard fouls on Caitlin Clark. Now, again, it's not his job. He is not the commissioner of the WNBA. He's the commissioner of the NBA, but I think sometimes comments can do more harm than good. Right? Because in one place, your heart's in the right place if you're trying to defend Caitlin Clark, but then you turn around and you say what you say about the officiating, and that is the crux of the whole league-wide. And when you sit there and you start to say she's become a political football, well, I got news for you. It's because a lot of political pundits now are sticking their nose into WNBA business, i.e. Congress. So what can you do about that? You can't tell them not to speak. They're allowed to have their opinion. Englebert and Silver's job are to respectively bring in revenue and grow the league, but they also need to protect the product on the floor. Now, in one case, we already ad nauseum talked about the NBA. In this case, in the WNBA, the product stinks. It's watered down. It's not good. It is not good, period. And you've got a player who has significantly increased ticket sales and television ratings. But again, conversations always have to go, down the rabbit hole. We talk about taboo, polarizing topics, race, officiating, and politics, which is really not fair because these players don't ask for it. They don't. The other thing that came out of yesterday, which was really interesting, and I'm going to play the clip in a second, but if you guys... if you watched yesterday, and again, we're going to break up the monotony a little bit. 3:05, we're going to talk a little NFL, AFC North, and then 4 o'clock, we're going to talk a little NFL. Maria chimes in early and often. What's going on, Maria? How are you? How are you on this glorious Friday? Hope you're doing well. So I want to get into the commissioner's take on the growth of the league because I find this extremely interesting, which kind of proves my point when it comes to how they look at, how they view the perception, the narrative within the league around number 22. Because it's clear as day. It's clear as day. I still maintain this. This league can't stand itself. This league, I bet you if you were to just give a lot of players truth serum, right? A little vino, a couple shots here and there, you backed them in the corner, and you did this straw poll, and you said to these players, what value is she bringing to the table? Would you rather have the league with or without number 22? Would you rather have Caitlin Clark in the league or not? Would you rather just have her go somewhere else? Do you even want to deal with this kind of crap anymore? Because you guys are being bombarded with questions, and also your character is being called into question, your physicality, your style of play is being called into question. End of the day, do you really give a shit if she's playing in this league or not? Do you want her in this league or not? And I venture to guess, I would say a majority, not minority, a majority, like 95%, 96% would literally turn around and say, we don't want her in the league. We don't want to deal with this stuff. She's not good for the league. When you think about those comments, and how they come out of my mouth, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. They're thinking that. And it goes to exactly what I wanted to bring up. And that was how the commissioner, how the league as an entirety, how the league as a whole views her. Okay? They view her as a mercenary, as I believe they do many, many of these players. They really do. Because again, your job as a commissioner is to grow the league, grow the brand, bring in money, expand the brand, expand the league, build upon television rights, deal with the CBA, bring in more revenue so salaries can go up exponentially, so the players are satisfied, so the players are happy, so the players want to continue to play and grow the sport and grow the league. So again, it's got a lot to do with the perception, the reality, and the optics. And what did we see? What did we see yesterday? We saw Humperdinck sit up there and basically, again, because this is what she friggin' does, basically just ignore exactly the influence that a Caitlin Clark has had on the league. She's basically, just glossing right over the impact. Not even acknowledging the impact, which tells you everything you need to know. You cannot appease everyone. You cannot serve two masters. And then she's put in this precarious position because she's created, she's formulated this ridiculous firestorm. And I also believe the fact that, again, Adam Silver is starting to pick, prod, and poke. I think a slow transition is starting to come. I really do, because it's pretty evident. It's pretty evident that players are being failed by this league. It's pretty evident that Clark is being failed by this league. And it's pretty evident that you need a new commissioner to save the league and save her and rescue what's going on right now in women's basketball. You can't have leagues fail to protect the star players. You can't have leagues that have to rely on other leagues, in this case the NBA, and their commissioner, Adam Silver, to step in and force the hand a little bit. Equity or no equity. That's telling me you're not doing your job. You're not fulfilling your role as a commissioner. And listen, you're going to have people that are going to bitch, whine, complain, and gripe all the time when it comes to the officiating, when it comes to what's going on social media, when it comes to the hate that the fans are providing, the hate, the racism, the sexist remark, the homophobic fans out there, spewing all that crap. And no one's sitting there saying, hey, Englebert, you got to have an open door policy and deal with this on a daily basis, because nobody wants to put up with that crap. After a while, it gets annoying. Like, I need to do my job. I need to focus on certain things. What would you want me to do? What do you have, what would you have me to do? We addressed it the other day. We addressed it. allow the league's protocol to handle it. Police it within, right? Police it within and have these players have restraint. Don't repost it back out there where it's right there for the masses and then everyone can just get on you twofold. But what annoyed me yesterday with this friggin' commissioner, listen, you guys got to listen to this. You have to listen to this. The fact that the narrative, and yesterday proves it. Yesterday proves it. People that have been arguing with me, and that's okay. You can argue until, I don't care. Argue all day long with me. Debate me. We'll go back and forth. I don't have a problem with that. But come up with some context. Back it up with facts. The problem is they're just not able to do that. The elephant in the room is that you'll look at said players, you'll look at certain players, and you don't like them because they don't fit the norm. They're not part of the agenda. They're not part of the narrative. We see it in sport. You know how long it took for, an NFL player, if he happened to be gay, to come out of the closet and actually announce it and have to deal with that in an NFL locker room, which is predominantly made up of what? 80-something% African American, and you know this because my friends used to tell me this all the time, which is, homosexuality, being gay. I mean, it's almost like taboo. It's frowned upon. And now you're talking about dealing with that in an NFL locker room? So having that stigma, having to deal with that, imagine like the prejudice, right? But now it's almost because Caitlin Clark, is the Iowa girl, and she doesn't look the part, play the part, she doesn't act the part. She's not, she goes against the grain of the league, which goes back to the inclusivity and the diversity, and everyone's just piling on. Yesterday, I made a comment the other day, and apparently some people commenting just took it, whoa, like, wow. I mentioned, Bucket's with her comment, Angel Reese, who models, she's a good-looking girl, right? Cunningham, good-looking girl, all these players with opportunities to market themselves, right? You can't come at me and sit there and say, it's not a league, it's a social experience for racism and sexism. If you want to talk about the divide, we can talk about the divide. But, the sexism thing, hold on a second, back it up. Because let me explain something to you, okay? Let's just break it down for a second. Players, athletes, everything they know, it's all about social media. Everything's got to be highlighted. Everything. It's all about likes, it's all about clicks, it's all about views. So when you sit there and in one breath, you shouldn't be all dressed and dialed up like that because people are going to whistle at you and howl at you. Well, okay. Yeah, that's the nature of the beast, man. Comes with the friggin' territory. But no one is saying don't use your looks, your appeal, your swag to your advantage. Do it. Use it to your advantage. What does that mean? That means you're not a talented player. You can't be the complete package. You can't be good looking. You can't be strong. You can't be sexy. You can't be talented. You can't be educated. What? You can't be that package? And then all of a sudden people are like, well, the league is a social, for what? No, the league has zero leadership. That's the problem. The league doesn't understand how to clean their dirty laundry. They air it out. They close a blind eye to it. They let the bills stack up on the table. Then they turn around and they think if we just walk in on a Friday and we got paid, we're gonna take care of everything. The bills will work themselves out. It won't. Give a listen. This was again yesterday. One of the reporters asked Humperdinck about the growth of the WNBA, and there's a name that she mentions, but also a name she refuses to mention. I just want you guys to give a listen to this.
Can this league grow? And now I see op-eds that are like, the league is growing too fast. Are you surprised at all about the speed of this movement, or was there a tipping point that told you that we were going to be here this soon?
Yeah, I think there was like a shout out for the GOAT here, Diana Taurasi. I think there was like a moment where there was the convergence of a lot of different things. People like Kristen Cook looking at investment in women's sports, the quality of our game, scaling our game a little bit. When I came in, I think we had 80 of our 240 games on national platforms. Now this year we'll have over 220. So if you build it, they will come. So I think it was just the confluence of all that, but really this investment by our corporate partners, investment of everybody now, like women's sports, a sub-asset class. everybody's looking at it from an investment perspective, and then just having the incredible play on the court and having the popularity of the game at the NCAA level globally now. I think we used to be 8% players outside the U.S., now we're 30%-ish, so it's just kind of the confluence of all that all coming together.
I love that you said.
So she failed to name the cash cow. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold on, Q. If she says it, it's going to open the Pandora's box. But there's ways you can kind of work around that. You can say it. 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 So, again, the fact that she's talking about the globalization, the expansion of the league, and she's mentioning Tarazi, this, that, the other thing, I'm telling you right now, man. I'm telling you. They don't want anyone to allow this kid or any future. If someone comes in a league like this with that talent, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now what's going to happen. The same crap. The same crap is going to happen. And we just don't want to admit it. Joey chimes in, amazes me that WNBA narrative, thought process of players management, believe the league would be better without Clark. Absolutely insane. CC, the Tiger Woods of the sport, will raise salaries, TV viewers, commercial deals, etc., and they chose to burn it down. They're doing a piss poor job. By the way, Lloyd Vance around 3:05. We're going to break up the monotony, talk a little NFL, then back to the hoops as well later on. DB, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you on Argentinian time? Come on, my man. Let's go. Let's go. Get in here. Get in on the conversation on a Friday. Q still uses his appeal and swag at the beach clubs down the shore. Still has Osmeal, Cutler Supreme, Jacor Nor at the... So two things. I don't even need to use the appeal anymore, Joey. I don't even have to worry about that. And I know there are many that come at me because it's pure jealousy, and I understand it. It's my lot in life. I have to deal with it. No Jacor. No Jacor. No. And I'm not telling you the product I use in the hair either. And the Cutler Supreme, we put that baby out to rest. Medical. How about this? From Australia. Are you kidding me with the Australia? I love it. 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 Unbelievable. Go CC from Austria. Thank you for sharing this video with us. Okay, there we go. Look at this. We're starting to make international waves right now. Not getting in trouble in international waters, but international waves. If there's a new league for women, top talent in the college basketball will have a great option to go. Unrivaled, it's 3-on-3. It's not happening. And then, like I told you before, Upshot is more of that, almost like the affiliate. And I know I got comments the other day. She's at a breaking point. It's long overdue. This is nothing new. You're 100% accurate. This league is not a league. It's a social experiment. It's toxic. It's racist. It's homophobic. I mean, I can't believe... You talk about lightning rod. Lightning rod. And then saying political football. I mean, think about that for a moment. So, yeah, I love the fact that Adam Silver's got to come out. And again, he's protecting. But then in the same vein, the same breath, you're talking about the officiating, the refereeing, and you're really not getting into it. Which, by the way... is not his place, but frame it a certain way where, hey, I think every league can have approved officiating, refereeing, because people want to hear it. Even if not, you're sincere. Even if you're not sincere, they still want to hear it. It is, Joey. I don't know what to tell you. It's pure jealousy. It's pure. You want to believe. I had someone comment, literally, he said, do you watch basketball? Do you know? He called me Unc. Go figure, right? It's got to be the young guys, because the young ones. The young ones, they got no clue what the hell they're talking about. Some of these young guys, they look at the highlights, they play the friggin' video games, they love fantasy football. So he literally said to me, again, you know ball. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And he called me an idiot in the comment. Now, you know me. You guys know me. I laughed it off. I shrugged it. And all I said is, look, man, if you want to have an educated conversation, we can do that. No need to throw, the slurs. No need to throw the slurs at me. And I said, I get it. This is where you're coming from. It's a certain place. And, I basically told him that at the end of the day, I know, or I'll forget more basketball than he'll ever know. And all of a sudden, what happened? Bam, bam, bam. The Q crew came, and I don't even know what happened to little Leroy. I think it was like 6, 7, 8. He's gone. He's gone. I don't think he's coming back. Okay, if they don't want her, they can return the money and all the upgrades because of her. CCU will flourish with anything she does. Even my girl Tanya told me to stop talking about the overseas route. Tanya's my girl. She told me to stop talking about the overseas route. It's coming. I don't know why we want to be blind to this. I told you this yesterday. There's no remedy. When the commissioner comes out and he's got to put more pressure on Humperdinck, right, to step in and do the flagrant and get the suspension, that's shot number one. When he then has to turn around and defend Caitlin Clark, that's shot number two. When he sits there and he's like, well, the officiating, he's doing a solid right there and trying to protect her, but it's a slow, smooth transition out. That's all it is. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. And again, I'm not suggesting that he needs to sit there. He knows how to play the game. He's seen it before. Even when you start to talk about all the hate and the racism with these gamblers and the sports bettors, which, oh, by the way, it's funny because now all of a sudden I see on X, people are writing stories about that. We talked about it, 3 days ago? On Monday? 4 days ago? Did we not? So we already know you're going to get abused as players. It's how you handle it. You can't control idiots on social media. He's not going to speak on that. She is not going to speak on that. You can open door policy all you want, but you know how many calls she would get every day from players if gamblers were pissed off and send messages? And look, you don't have to condone it. You should not condone it. But you also don't need to react to it. So, again, unless the 42% equity stake, unless he gives her the ultimatum and he forces the issue here, nothing will change. But the league cannot stand Caitlin Clark. And I'm sorry, if it rubs people the wrong way, and this is why I maintain get the hell out of the league, because I don't even know if a trade's going to do you good. I just honestly don't. And I would like to correct myself yesterday. I think it was Joe or Jay asked me about the agents. The agent only reps Clark, not Stephanie White. I actually talked to my buddy who's a WNBA agent. And trust me, he doesn't like some of the stuff I'm saying on the air, but he's got to deal with it. So I just wanted to clarify that. So the lead horse, it's broken down right now. And this is where people need to wake up. So he's not going to speak on everything. He's not. Imagine you're sitting there at work and you're a supervisor or manager and every single solitary friggin' little gripe. You would never get any work done. Ever. She's not going to do it either. They want to make the league money. They want to expand the league. They want more marketing rights, more branding rights, more merchandise appeal, apparel, ratings, eyeballs, get those evaluations up. It's all about the bottom line. So until someone comes in and says, I can take over this league, I can fix the product, first and foremost, I can invest in officiating, which makes the game cleaner, and now there's a little more free-flowing game. We're going to cut down on these players bitching, whining, having their breaking moments on the floor. We're not going to tolerate that anymore. We're going to play friggin' basketball, and then we'll deal with the outside noise. Everything else is smoke and mirrors. They're not willing to do that. That's a problem. Silver's words were fine. He was very cautious how he said what he said, but you have to remember, it's the first time he's really speaking out about the league. I would guess there's more to come. I'm telling you this. Good point, DB. I'm telling you this. When she blew off the interview with Dan Patrick, Silver caught wind of that. Because as I mentioned, Dan Patrick and Adam Silver are extremely tight. Adam Silver goes on Dan Patrick's show pretty much, it seems like every other week during the NBA season. So yes, to your point, he chose his words cautiously, carefully, because, all these commissioners at the end of the day, they have legal backgrounds, right? And they understand how to play the game, the politics of the game. There are and have been gay players in the NFL. The difference is they've handled the bullshit, the WNBA, not so much. Continue on. Next comment. Oh, thank you, Maria, for that. Let me see. The W has not gotten there because they still think it's entertainment versus being a business. That's off between most leagues that have been around. It's business. So here's the thing. When I mentioned the players in that locker room in the NFL, right? Again, I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I'm saying in the NFL, when players had to deal with that, the stigma, especially in the 60s, especially in the 70s, in the 80s, it was so great. Imagine if there was social media. God knows if these players took it to so much heart. But it's not an inclusivity thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not a divisive thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So again, I'm telling, I I think the NBA, they need to push her out, and Silver has to get someone within the league office that he is comfortable with. And I'm not going to say it should be a male, and I'm not going to say it should be a female, but you have to have someone that understands both sides, not someone who's going to try to placate and appease and appease everyone. The problem is she won't come out and support one player because of fear of the backlash of an entire league. That's why I'm saying if you gave these players truth serum, I guarantee you, if you gave them a little hot toddy of truth serum, they would turn around and say, we can't stand her, get her out of the league. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It's like, then what am I even doing here? What am I even doing here? Independent Aquaman. Haven't heard from him in a while. That's a hell of a handle, by the way. There's talk that Sue Bird or Tarazi will replace Cathy as a WNBA new commissioner. They're no worse than regarding the heterophobia. Yeah, again, it's really unfortunate because, live and let be at the end of the day. Whatever you do, you do, right? Whatever you do, you do. But the problem is this. You need to bring in someone that is open-minded but fair. And the commissioner is afraid of offending X, therefore she can't defend Y. Does that make sense? So when everyone wants her to come out and be very, and this is, I'm not defending, I don't like this. I don't like her as a commissioner. I think she lacks leadership. I really do. I think she is not a strong-willed person. She might have that business acumen and pedigree, but she doesn't know how to read the room. She just doesn't. But I find it very interesting that you don't even mention Clark, because if you do that, it creates this major, major firestorm, because we already saw players coming out who don't even have half the body of work resume that she does in a short little sample size of her WNBA career, that are already pissed off, that she gets flowers. I mean, honestly, and like I said, I don't care if they bring in a gay male commissioner. I don't care if they bring in a white lesbian. I don't care. You need someone that comes in that is also going to have that hard line and say enough is enough. This is my league. You will play it accordingly. What's wrong with that? We want to go back to basketball. That's it. We want to go back to basketball where we're talking X's and O's. But the league has created this mess because sometimes you give a little too much freedom to players. You give a little too much freedom to players and they start to sprout off and they say things and they think, come on, come at me, go ahead. What are the repercussions going to be? I'm all for voicing your opinion. I'm all for it. But I also think you have to have some decorum. And she has, as we've all said, she has created this environment where it's a free-for-all, man. You ever hear, what is that expression? You got to take care of your own house? Like, police it? She hasn't been able to do that. She just hasn't. She hasn't been able to do that. And that's why the product suffers. Again, it suffers, it sucks, it sucks, and it suffers. It does. And I feel like, again, it's a taboo kind of subject to talk about, because all I want is in a commissioner someone that leads. If I'm watching these leagues, lead the leagues, right? Lead them. Be a leader of men. Be a leader of women, period. Inspire. Grow. Brand. Give me a good product on the floor. And, if they turn around and they bring in a straight male, are people going to flip out? If they bring in, a woman that's a lesbian or a minority, are people going to flip out? I don't know. It's like I feel as though they never got off the ground the right way with this commissioner. That's how I feel. And then what happens is you open up such a can of worms. And this is where we're at. Instead of talking about the product on the floor, the X's and O's, it's now become like these race wars. It's now become black, white, straight, gay. Straight, gay. We're not even talking about the game anymore. We're fixated and focused on one player. because she's such a lightning rod. And that one player didn't ask for this. So again, in one vein, in one breath, you want commissioners to defend the product and the players, but they have to kind of walk that line. Because I guarantee you, and I joked and I said it tongue in cheek when I brought up the soundbite, if she turns around and mentions Caitlin Clark today, someone's going to get a microphone and said player's face, and they're going to be like, how do you feel about the commissioner single out Caitlin Clark and talking about the growth of the league? It all has to do with her. There's a firestorm. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. She can't handle it. She is not fit to be the commissioner. She allowed the inmates to run the asylum. She never policed her house. That is a major, major, major problem, period. It is a major, major problem. You have to find a way to police within. This is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you bring in a female straight African American, then right away maybe the gay or lesbian African Americans in the league are going to turn around and get pissed off. The straight white players might get pissed off. If you bring in a heterosexual male, then maybe every female player in the league is going to get pissed off. If you bring in a gay man, it's like a no-win situation. And I know people can't stand talking about this, but this is the reality of the world that we friggin' live in. We can't ignore it. Don't be blind. Don't be blind. Because right away, if you bring in someone that is like you, then all of a sudden you open up the door for favoritism. Not nepotism, favoritism. That's the reality. It sucks, but this is the world we live in. And it's like so taboo. People want to tap dance around it. And that's the one difference. Like on this show, on these airways, what I've been doing, we talk about it because people want to know. They might sit there and say, man, this guy's way too raw and unfiltered. But I'm saying what you guys are thinking, I believe. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. No matter what, somebody is going to get pissed off. Somebody's going to sit there and say, that's not the right hire for the job. Somebody's going to sit there and say, well, now I can't be me. I can't be myself. Nobody's taking that away from you. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's suggesting that. Go be you. Again, I don't care what the hell you do on the outside of the floor, man. As long as you're not harming anyone, have at it. Live your friggin' life. But this commissioner, because she's trying to serve two masters, has decided, I'm going to split it right in half. You know, you got two kids and they're arguing about the bicycle. You can't split it in half. You can't do it. You just can't split it in half. It's not going to work. Period. You know it and I know it. That's all. All right, we want to switch gears. We're going back to the WNBA in a little bit. We're going back to the NBA. Jonathan Marshall at 405. Got a lot of comments coming in. I wanted to break it up a little bit because I know, don't go anywhere, guys. I know you guys love talking NFL as well. We wanted to break up the monotony. We're going to be on the air for another hour and a half. Trust me, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Wanted to switch it up, talk a little NFL because we got training camp right around the corner. I know when you guys get hot, you get hot. You're going to hang with me. You're going to have patience. That's what life is all about, right? Patience is a virtue. My father used to tell me, hang tight, be patient. But we do want to switch gears. And also I mentioned too, we do a lot of NFL content on the show, on the channel, plus the Betting Sports Pod. So again, you guys want to jump off for about 10, 15, have at it, jump back on. Not a problem. Get a little fresh roast of coffee. We're all good. We're right where we need to be. And with that, we welcome in. You know, I'm wondering too, as I welcome in my good friend, NFL insider Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, SR 1029 FM The Game. And you can hear him every Monday, 8 to 9. Also co-host with me on Back Your Player Sports Gambling Pod. I'm wondering, you know, obviously there's a lot going on, my friend, with the Caitlin Clark and, you know, the diversity, the inclusivity. I'm curious, you covered the NFL for a long time. And you had, you know, you were part of a lot of books, a lot of research. I mentioned this, you know, the plight of a black player, say in the 60s or 70s or 80s, wanting to come out of the closet. In today's era, when you talk about social media, can you even fathom the backlash, or even back then that player had to face or was afraid to even come out of the closet because, again, of the game being predominantly played by African Americans? And you know, in your culture, right, in your background, that is kind of a taboo thing. Because I think the reason I asked you and bring it up, you're astute, you know the history of the game, and again, you're part of a lot of books, you've documented a lot of stuff. I'm curious to get your take on this before we get into the AFC North.
No, it would have been extremely difficult back then. You know, it was more of a closed locker room in terms of Q. There was a lot of policing of themselves, and they hit a lot of things from the front office. You know what I mean? The things, the players that I knew in terms of that were different, in terms of diversity, they got a lot of hate mail and death threats and those sorts of things. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's real and it's unfortunate thing in the past. But yeah, now with the social media, it's just coming from all different types of angles.
Yeah, no doubt it is, and it's brutal to watch sometimes. And we do the sports betting pod, and then you see the sports getters get so bent out of shape, and there's no need for the other nonsense. But hey, man, if you can't hit your bet, you can't hit your bet. That's not on the player. But we see it in the NFL. All of a sudden, don't at me because I didn't score the touchdown. Don't at me because I dropped the pass. But with that being said, AFC North, very compelling and interesting division. Years ago, we can kind of argue it was the best division in football. We know about the competitiveness. You look at Baltimore, you look at Cleveland, you look at Cincinnati, you look at Pittsburgh. Let's kind of work our way up because we get a lot of fans that listen from Ohio. And I already told you, I'll tell you right now, I think July 17th, I'm going to proclaim the Cleveland Browns are absolutely cooked. I don't see any path to them having a successful season. And I see some of my guys, Chad in Ohio, Mike in Ohio and Cleveland, already fuming at me on X and getting ready to comment in. But where you at right now with Cleveland? And I'll ask you, as we get closer to the season, I'll kind of have you plant that seed. Who do you expect to be that week one starter?
Yeah, Cleveland's interesting, Q, because you have Todd Monken coming in there. Stefanski's going. They're trying to establish something, rebuild once again. But as you said, they're predicted to be, a 6-7 win team. And when you look at the roster, it's just like, okay, they've done some things in the draft, bringing in a young receiver like Casey
Yep,
Concepcion,
yep, yep.
Spencer Fano, that big tackle they brought over from Utah. They're trying to have some building blocks there, Q. But it's just what is their overall game plan? And when you look at quarterback position, I just think it's going to be Deshaun Watson. Everybody I've talked to in the Ohio area has said, over and over again, he's their guy because they've put that out first and foremost. He's getting all the reps in practice. And we all know it's follow the money. You know what I mean? He's got the guaranteed contract for this season, I think about $46 million. And they're going to go with Deshaun Watson, but Shador Sanders is there, Dylan Gabriel, and then you just wonder about where are the other playmakers on this
Right.
team and the defense, where do they go out now that they don't have Myles Garrett?
Well, that's another thing, right? They lose defensively. I still think the quarterback situation, it's going to be magnified. I mean, we can talk about this ad nauseum with these teams heading into training camp, but the bottom line is, who do you entrust, right? And I still believe Cleveland has to get some sort of return on their investment, and that being, Deshaun Watson. Now, is it going to be one of those short leashes per se? I don't know, but this is a team that, as you mentioned, you lose Garrett. This is they were a 5-win team. Obviously, they decided to go in a different direction, kind of overhaul the coaching staff. They went offensive line. They added a couple weapons, but as much as outside supporters of Sanders, and we know the rat ship is one of them, they want to see him start. They want to see him start. You have to, do you not, start Watson? Because you have to see that 200 something $1 million guaranteed contract. You have to get your money's worth, right? I mean, we already know it's a crowded quarterback room, right? With Gabriel and Green and Sanders and now Watson. But I believe he's got to be that week one starter. You give him a little bit of wiggle room. If they struggle coming out of the gate and they've got, tough games to start, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, both on the road, Carolina, Pittsburgh, again, so they'll see a division rival week 4. Then you go to Sanders.
Yeah, Q. And I think the biggest thing is training camp. You're going to see Deshaun Watson get the majority of the reps. And as you said, big investment they made in him. But Deshaun Watson from 2020, when he was, an all-pro guy with the Texans before he hurt his knee, is not walking in the door. So Haslam is grasping for straws, the owner there, and Andrew Barry as well. And it's all like they were pointing at Stefanski. They were pointing at Barry. No one knows who made that Shore Sanders pick and then who basically benched him last
Yeah.
year and didn't give him his chances. So I think eventually Shore will get his chances, but Deshaun Watson is that veteran guy, and they've invested a lot in him, wrongly, as we all know, but they're going to give him his chance. And you got to get excited about some of the other young playmakers. Like Quinshawn Junkins, he came along pretty well last year for them, and I want to see what Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston, two rookie receivers, coming in can do.
Yeah, they've got some weapons, right? And they can run the football a little bit. AFC North talk. Lloyd Vance kind enough to join us. Host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, joining us on a Friday edition of On Cue. DB says Browns aren't going anywhere this year. I'll tell you a team that's not going anywhere: the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I have no idea. Listen, that quarterback, he does what he does, right? He just basically keeps these teams in limbo. You get rid of Tomlin, you bring in McCarthy. As I said yesterday, people were laughing. You can't put a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound. I look at this team as an old, aging team. And again, you look at their schedule to start: Falcons on the road against the Pats, Cincinnati Browns. So they're going to start 2 out of 4 divisional rivals. I can't trust Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is one hit away from being knocked out early in this season. He's 42 years of age. I mean, to me, I just look at a player. He'll be 43 in December. I don't think he's going to last the season. I don't like that offensive line. And I also believe they're void of weapons, man. I mean, you can't tell me with an Aaron Rodgers who can't move around as much anymore. Yeah, he can still throw it if he has time, but he also has to buy time. He can't do that anymore. And in 14 games, he was sacked, or 16 games, he was sacked 32 times, right? And we saw exactly what happened in that playoff game. He was horrible. So Father Time to me is catching up with Aaron Rodgers. Where do you see Pittsburgh when you align them in this division?
Yeah, Q. Last year you saw in a playoff game that Aaron Rodgers is he's basically cooked. You know what I mean? He had a solid year in terms of statistics and everything, but he was not driving the football down the field. And key thing that you point out is that offensive line has been a work in progress. Yes, they have Zach Frazier, who they invested high draft pick in a couple years ago. He's there, and Broderick Jones is kind of underachieving. Left tackle, he's in the mix there, but a young group that's really unproven up front, and they're going to probably have problems uh, protecting Aaron Rodgers. He may feel like he was back when he was with the Jets, that last season, and then in terms of the piece around him, yeah, DK Metcalf's there. They bring in Pittman
Yep.
over from the Colts, but the running back position, it's Jalen Warren, Rico Dowdell coming over after Carolina. He had a good bounce back there. Caleb Johnson, he had that bad play on special teams, and then you just wonder if he's ever really going to bounce back from there. And then the quarterbacks behind Rodgers, Rudolph and Will Howard and Drew Aller, are any of them really going to push this veteran? So I saw one of the texters saying down year for the Steelers, probably a rebuild, and I'd have to agree. I think with Tomlin not being there, that strong leadership's just, you wonder what's going to happen here.
I did want to ask you too, now because you're bringing McCarthy back in the fold. I mean, is this cockeyed optimism here that you think you're going to turn back the clock to 15 years ago, 10 plus years ago, right? Even further. And the other thing is, Rodgers is the quarterback at this point of his career where you got to placate him, man. Seriously, you got to placate them. It's like the same thing with the Jets. When they made the move for the Jets with the Jets, and I still believe to this day they should have tried to pull the strings and trade for Lamar Jackson. I don't care about the contract. Rodgers comes in, he wants his guys, he wanted Hackett, he wanted his teammates, and it blew up in their face, right? So after a while, you go from Tomlin, the consistency all those years. Now we can debate the merits, the resume, but he's going to get in the Hall of Fame someday. And obviously, they didn't win as much over the last several years. I feel as though that hire was to maybe kind of turn back the clock and try to create a little bit of juju and magic one last time with these two together. And I think it's set up to fail miserably.
Yeah, they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and those two, it didn't end really well in Green Bay with the two of them. When yeah, they won a Super Bowl there together, but I mean that's 2010, Q. That's so long ago. And when you look at the Steelers roster, you talked about the age, average 27 years last year, second oldest roster in the National Football League. You still have Cam Hayward to bring him back. Watt's getting a little long in the tooth, and some of their other pieces on that defense. So they're trying to fix this thing. I think the over-under win total's 8.5. I'd have to say it's going to be under this year, Q. I think they finally have that losing season, and they. I was surprised they actually let Rodgers, hold him hostage
I
behind
agree.
and hold that spot for him again. They saw what he could do in that playoff game. He can't draw the football down the field. He's throwing pick sixes. Not the best guy. Well, I guess he's better in the locker room than we thought he was, but I heard whispers he wasn't that well liked, and he's not going to mentor anybody at this stage in his
No,
career.
no,
So it's just why
he
bring him
doesn't want
back?
to. He does no, he doesn't want to. Look, you look at the numbers and say 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks, not bad. But he's not a 25-year-old. He's 42. And you mentioned the game against the Texans. They just dominated. That's another question. They dominated the offensive line. They sacked him 5 times in that game. He didn't even crack 150 yards. He is not going to last the season. I don't think this team wins 6 or 7 games, to be quite honest. And when he gets knocked out, that's going to be it. That's going to be it for Aaron Rodgers. So we both agree Cleveland, Pittsburgh, kind of your bottom feeders right now. You got Cincinnati, you got Baltimore. We've talked about Burrow in Cincinnati for years. He always seems to come out and, I don't love the game anymore. It's getting frustrating, i.e. fix the friggin' defense because the offense is there. So to me, is this a make or break year for Cincinnati and Joe Burrow? Meaning it's Super Bowl or bust, like win it all.
It's interesting because I think it's on a hot seat kind of season for head coach Zach Taylor, who's been there a number of years. The defensive coordinator Al Golden, they brought him in, and it just has not worked in him. And then yes, you talked about Joe Burrow. He's on a hot seat in terms of he has to stay healthy. He has to be that guy for this team, and they've tried to fix that offensive line. You talk about how often he's been hit, one of the most hit quarterbacks in the NFL over the last 5 years. Orlando Brown Jr. is going to be there at left tackle. They have Karras coming over
Yep.
from New England. And then they have Mims, who they drafted #1 in 2024. So they got to get that offensive line together. We know about all the playmakers. I mean, it's like a fantasy football dream. You have Chase, you have Higgins, you have Yoshivas, a lot of playmakers in terms of the receiver position. Gesicki had a nice season in the red zone at the tight end position. And Chase Brown, underrated back. He's a good dual threat guy for them. But Burrow's got to carry the water. And then the defense. You talk about Al Golden, Q. He came over, was supposed to fix this defense, and it's just been a work in progress. Obviously, they have your guy now, Dexter Lawrence, who they traded for, and we'll see what he's bringing, mentality he's bringing. He's coming over. Jonathan Allen coming from Minnesota, and Mafe coming from Seattle. He was a Super Bowl champion, but they need to change things quickly because I think they're chasing the Ravens. But Burrow's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you can lean on him if he gets hot throwing the ball to Chase. He can put up a lot of points, but that defense got to stop some people.
He's also 29. He's been banged up. He got sacked 48 times 2 years ago. He only played 8 games last season, right? I mean, so we talked about, the numbers when he's available. He is a great quarterback, but it's all about health. It's got to be paramount with Joe Burrow, and they need to keep him upright. He can't afford to have, even in the division, you've got good defense. I mean, even Cleveland was able to get to him. They sacked him 6 times in 2 games. Pittsburgh got to him a little bit. Baltimore got to him a little bit. He's breaking down, right? So he'll be 30 in December. I do believe it's boom or bust right now. And you mentioned Baltimore with all the changes they made. I still believe the division goes through Baltimore. If we're going to put the spotlight and target on Joe Burrow and say he's under the microscope, he has to have a big season in 2026, then the same could be said about Lamar Jackson, because the knock on Lamar Jackson, whether it's fair, foul, inbounds, outbounds, it's always going to be he puts up ridiculous numbers in the regular season, but he doesn't win the big game in the playoff. But he'll choke the big game in the playoff. But he'll have the blunder, the fumble, the interception. Now, it's not his fault Andrews drops one, right? And again, last year, I believe Harbaugh's fate was sealed when they didn't run the ball a couple more times and you leave it up to a rookie kicker. But I just, again, if we always talk about Cincinnati and Burrow and Josh Allen and Buffalo, then the same could be said about Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. If not now, when with this team and this franchise?
Right, Q. And Lamar Jackson approaching 30 as well, and in a situation where he hasn't been to that long-awaited Super Bowl. Neither him nor Josh Allen. And a lot of people are complaining about this top 100 and the quarterback ratings that came out all over the place. That he's fallen. A lot of people are questioning him in terms of can he get it done? Two-time MVP, but you always have that outlier of that 3-5 record in the postseason. So yes, the pressure's on. Everybody's saying it was Todd Monken, who's no longer there. You also have Harbaugh, who's now with the Giants, and they're bringing in Declan Doyle coming over from Chicago to bringing in that playbook, trying to bring some other pieces in terms of helping Lamar Jackson. But he's got to get it done. 8-9 team last season, battled injuries, particularly that hamstring injury, which I thought affected him a lot in terms of running the football. He's not running the ball the way he was in the past. He's trying to be more of a pocket guy. The offense did put up, 25 points per game, but the defense was supposed to be the calling card for this team. Anthony Weaver coming over trying to fix it. They allowed almost 400 points, 23 points per game last year. So the defense has got to pick it up. They get Trey Hendrickson coming over, and then about the secondary with Wiggins and Hamilton and Malachi Starks. So they have some names, but they have to get some pass rush up front, and that'll help that back seven. So going to be an interesting team, but yes, the pressure is on Jackson, and he's going to need some help. And how much does Derrick Henry have left?
When you talk about the change at the helm, right? We know Harbaugh, special teams defensive guy now with the Giants. Baltimore, they want to predicate their offense on their ground game. How much of an impact do you think Jesse Minter is going to have? I mean, if you talk about, the moves that they made, right? They drafted the kid Idane, right? I think you mentioned they hired Declan Doyle. They signed Hendrickson. If you kind of break that in a pie chart, you talk about the biggest impact for the Ravens in the offseason heading into 2026. I believe it would be overwhelmingly Jesse Minter. So how much of an impact do you think he'll have, putting his fingerprint on this team?
Yeah, Q, he's coming in and bring that toughness and bring that leadership and bring that Harbaugh, John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh way, from Michigan and try to bring some toughness to that defense. That defense got pushed around a lot last year. As I said, 23.4 points per game allowed. They're hoping Matabike can come back from that neck injury, and he's going to be huge for them. But they got to stop some people because Roquan Smith in the middle, you wonder how much he has left in the tank. So they're trying to retool that defense, and that's what Minter's bringing in there. And then offensively, Declan Doyle, I think they're going to try to run the football first and then have Lamar Jackson go play action. You like to see some of these receivers, particularly Zay Flowers, step it up. He was very inconsistent. Rashad Bateman, they've been waiting on him a long time, drafted in the first round of 2021. And you wonder, are there enough pieces there? The tight end, Andrews, what does he have left? So a lot on Lamar Jackson's shoulders here.
I think when you look at Minter and you kind of, the formula for success, right? You give Lamar Jackson a top 10 defense, that equals wins, right? I mean, if you're kind of following what he did with the Chargers, very good quarterback, even though you and I differ a little bit on Herbert, but you have a very good defense. I believe this Baltimore Ravens roster is decidedly more talented. And you mentioned, hey, you get stars like the Humphreys, the Smith back in their prime, their peak, and then you got youngsters like Green and Starks. I think they should be one of the odds-on favorite to not only win the AFC, but come out of the AFC. I'm sorry, to win the AFC North, but come out of the AFC. Like, I believe the expectation should be very high because they knew, just like Pittsburgh knew with Tomlin, we can't go any further with this head coach, right? And I also believe the handwriting was on the wall when you go back late in the season, some of the questionable calls late, the uses of Derrick Henry, not using him, going back to the playoff game. So I think right now, even if you look at Minter, before the seasons even start, I think his impact's going to be immeasurable. And I think you also, and I know we're not talking back your play or other, the gambling pod, I think you look at him as a potential coach of the year candidate.
Yes, Bisciotti has really empowered Jesse Minter to come in there and bring that culture back. John Harbaugh at one time did bring that toughness, that culture, but he kind of got away from it, as you said, Q, got a little bit conservative. And I think Minter's going to come in there and make this team more physical. They're going to block better. The offensive line with Falele and some of those guys was struggling last year. Ronnie Stanley, need to get him healthy, but I think they'll build up front. Derrick Henry probably has one more tough season in him, Q, probably about 1,300 yards or so. and then Lamar Jackson's
Which
going
is
to
a
be
hell of a
the second.
season, by the way.
Yeah, it is, and everybody expects him to get 2,000 and
Right, right.
run for those long touchdowns every year, but he's still a back that's got a lot of juice
Ah,
left.
yeah.
So this team, yeah, I agree with you. Last year, 8-9, no playoffs, but the over/under win total is 11.5. I think they hit that number, and they are the kings of this division.
Just to put it in perspective, he ran it 325 times in 2024, 1,900 yards, 16 touchdowns. He scored 16 touchdowns last season, 1598. His average dropped zero point 0.7, but he also carried it 307. So you're now getting to the point of your career where another 300 touches gets you 3,000 for your career. He's a Hall of Fame back. He's roller skating in. But I also think, is it possible that they use him judiciously? Like they don't, the wear and tear, the days of that 25 to 30, we're going to kind of save you late in the season. AFC North, Baltimore, shitty weather. Here we go. 4 o'clock, 4:05, prime time on a Sunday. Get them going. Or use them cautiously, judiciously. Don't wear him out. Then get him cooking, running into playoffs. Because we know once you get him downhill, he's very hard to stop.
Yeah, Q, they're gonna find that mix, in terms of not overusing him at his age. But Justice Hill's going to have to make plays, and we know he's the smallest back and catch football out of the backfield. Maybe Doyle gets it to hit ball in his hands. You have Rasheed Ali, he's a 2024 fifth rounder. He's there, and they got Adam Randall in the fifth round this year. So they'll have some options, but yeah, Derrick Henry, you want him fresh in December, in January, because Lamar Jackson's going to need that help. Jackson's got to stay healthy with his legs, and maybe he rushes more.
I like Baltimore in this division. I think Cincinnati. I think you'll get two teams potentially coming out of the division, but I do like Baltimore. I can't trust Cincinnati. And I know people will say, well, you can't. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. I think he gets a bad rap. As long as he's healthy, he's a hell of a quarterback. I mean, you're talking about a two-time MVP. You can put him in the MVP conversation every single solitary season. And I like the move from Minter right now because now all of a sudden, fresh set of eyes. You got youth. You've got young, right, in that regard. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, I don't like the culture in Cleveland, and I don't like the hire of McCarthy, a safe hire, just to appease Aaron Rodgers, get rid of those two teams. Cincinnati, I just can't trust them, and you brought up a really good point. That head coach should have been on the hot seat over the last several years, and to me, it's also the health of one Joe Burrow. So because of all that, de facto, I go with, I think Baltimore is going to be that 12-win team coming out of the AFC.
I agree with you that Baltimore should win this division, and Cincinnati, as much as weapons that they have, they're going to struggle at certain points in the season. You wonder how they're going to overcome that, and their offensive line is just not where it needs to be. And I think the Ravens have made the right adjustments, Q, and I agree with you.
All right, let's squeeze in some comments before I let you get out of here. Maria chimes in. Any opinion on Arizona? Oh, Maria, sorry to tell you. We both agree. We think they're going to be horrible. And we talked a lot about it. That NFC West preview is up on the YouTube channel because of the quarterback position. We just, you got a journeyman quarterback, a bridge quarterback, and what else? I mean, they've got, a weapon here and there. I just don't like the makeup of the Arizona Cardinals at all.
I don't. And it's a very tough division, Q. They're probably going to have three teams in the playoffs again, just as they had last year. Two of them played in the NFC Championship game. So it's tough.
I was thinking about this though when we were talking about the quarterback position, right? For when we were doing the breakdown of division, and they've got Minshew. I think they have Carson Beck. And remember, I said I think maybe I don't hit a lot of them, but I thought maybe that would be a landing spot. Brissett. Everyone's talking about the contract and it's still in flux and he wants to get paid and all this other nonsense, right? And I get it. He's at the point of his career where he's trying to cash in. He's trying to cash in right now. But he also is a bridge quarterback. And he signed a 2-year deal. And that's why he's trying to squeeze and get more money. He's in the final year of that contract. With that being said, can you envision or see a scenario where Carson Beck is kind of that, hey, let's see what we have, right? Maybe it's an intriguing prospect, even though he's older, or quarterback project. Because the other thing is this. The best thing for a young quarterback is to at least have a pretty decent ground game, and they went out and they drafted the kid out of Notre Dame. So that kind of tells me they might be a run first team.
I mean, he will get his stats here and there, but Brissett's trying to cash in. He's paid less than some of the backups out there, and he figures, okay, I need this chance. But I clearly believe that the Cardinals are planning for next season. In terms of the draft in that 2027 class that we're talking about. Arch Manning and Mensa,
March for Arch.
yeah, and the rest of them. So. I think eventually, yeah, why not give Carson Bett's shot? Because you know what Jacoby Brissett can do. You talked about they got Love at the running back position, and they have Harrison the second there on the team at the receiver position. So, they do have some pieces as well as McBride. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a tough season for them because this division is just so tough. And they were 0-6, I think, last year in division.
It's crazy. Harrison, again, nicked up, inconsistent, and Wilson was the big-time playmaker along with McBride, right? So I just don't think they're going to win a lot of games, as you said, because the division is stacked. Again, Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, part of the Odyssey app, and also joins me during the football season. BYP, back your play, our sports betting pad. AFC will be Herbert's year. I feel as though, you know me, I fall in love with the guys that have the best hair. But Herbert, to me, he's starting to creep in that Dan Fouts territory. He puts up a lot of numbers, a lot of yardage, and this team just can't get over the hump. They can never make a deep run into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're waiting on him. He has all the numbers and the ability, and it's time for him to step up. And as well as the other Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's been there now. He's come over from Michigan. They're supposed to bring that toughness. I know they had a lot of injuries in the offensive line with Alt and Slater, but they're getting those guys back, and they have playmakers all over with Hampton, and you hope Lad McConkey can step up, and then Gadsden at the tight end position. But yeah, they've invested a lot in terms of the defense there. They should be in the mix, but Kansas City's tough, and we know about Denver and that defense that they have there.
Yeah, that'll make Michael smile. Here it is. Lloyd, is this? I mean, he's got to break it down. Lloyd, is this the year Bo Nix takes the? Now, can we just say for the new listening audience, who had the proclamation of all proclamations, the prediction of all predictions last year? Now, I hit one of two because Washington spit the bid. But is this the year Bo Nix takes the Broncos to the bowl?
Well, he was in the mix last year in the AFC Championship game, and obviously he gets hurt, and they didn't have a chance with the backup. But that defense is good. But I'd like to see a little bit more from the running game there with this team. So I want to see Nix come back healthy. They have the receivers. They have a pretty good tight end. Offensive line has Bowles and the rest of those guys. So, yeah, I think they'll be in the mix. But Super Bowl, it's a little too early in Bo Nix's career, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we banged out AFC North. We took care of the NFC. All that's up on the channel as well. We're going to run through the AFC, finish the conference, and then we'll start doing some win totals. I know training camp, we start to get a little buzz, but is there anything with your show? I know you guys go NFC East heavy, Philadelphia Eagles heavy. Is there anything you're looking for over the next week or two as we kind of creep into training camp, especially NFC East wise or Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, it's fun, Q, because today the Seattle Seahawks reported they're the first team to come in.
Yep.
And we're just going to we did last week the NFC South, and we're just going to talk about all the divisions and talk about who's going to be ready. And the Eagles, it's interesting, Q, because their team, yes, they're two-time division champion, but you're wondering, is all the stuff swirling around this team, and are they going to be able to reach new heights like they were? So, yeah, the Eagles are going to be obviously a big talking point, but definitely going to hit all the other teams in the National Football League.
DB says, I'm not convinced in Bo Nix, and Cards need a new culture. I mean, they have one of the, I mean, think about the ownership with that franchise, right? I mean, but we see it in the NFL. If you've got a piss poor ownership group, if they're not willing to spend, then you're always going to be kind of the bottom of the barrel. The Jets situation, before I let you get out of here with Geno Smith and all the speeding tickets here and there, I told you this. It made absolutely no sense to bring him back. It just speaks to you want to talk about a team that is going to be, I think the Jets, how many times did I get hammered saying this last year? But I think within 5 weeks, when they're 1-4, 2-3, and the you know what is hitting the fan, I can tell you right now, they're going to start clamoring for Glenn. They're going to want his head on a platter.
Yeah, I agree with you. Glenn's being set up to be the fall guy here. They're bringing, Geno Smith and some other pieces back, and this was a bad team, Q. They had some big names on that defense. They traded the guys away, and you just wonder what's left in the cupboard. Yeah, they have Garrett Wilson and a couple other pieces there, but there's just not much. And I agree with you. The Jets are going to be right down there in terms of wins, in
Ugh.
my opinion. With the Cardinals, they are going to be a pretty bad team, and their reward will be they'll get one of these top young quarterbacks and they'll try to rebuild again.
All right, last one. Michael, the Broncos fan. What else is new? Waddle, the missing piece for his Bronco ball. Let him cook, right? For the Denver Broncos, that offense. I think it boils down to the quarterback play, to be quite honest with you, and the play calling.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They have a lot of receivers. I want to see Harvey play better, and J.K. Dobbins, can he stay healthy enough? And yeah, Bo Nix, that was an unfortunate injury late in the season. He was playing pretty well.
Horrible.
So you'd like to see him pick up where he left off. But that defense led the NFL with 68 sacks last year. They're going to build around them. But offensively, they got to have some other playmakers step up other than Bo Nix.
All right, don't forget, give my guy Lloyd a follow on X at Lloyd Vance, NFL writer, historian, host, SR 1029 FM The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network, PFW Writers Award winner. What was the book? Third and a Mile, right?
That was for third. That was for Third and a Mile, and also just my work back in the day with
NFL
big play, big
yeah,
play, and all that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah. Wow. Is that site still live?
Nah, that's not live, man.
Listen, this will make you laugh. I was talking the other day because obviously the WNBA and the Caitlin Clark stuff, and it's been a hot topic with the audience, right? So I mentioned when I was on 1290, and
Right.
you played at Del State.
No, had some family that played there.
Okay.
and, yeah.
Okay, but we know your background, your
Sure.
football background, but from covering on 1290 for years with me and Delaware and the Blue Hens and Del State, and if they were going to play, so I brought up the story of when, if you remember, when I had the governor at the time, Jack Markell, on, and I was grilling him about Delaware and Del State and then the allotted tickets, because they were finally going to play and they were going to play in UD. And the argument was they're not giving a fair shake for the Del State Hornets. Head coach Al Levan, by the way. This is when Delaware had Flacco, Omar Cuff, and Casey Keeler. And I don't know if you remember when I had them on, but I stirred the pot to the point when I was done, they basically suspended me on air.
Oh boy. Bringing back some great memories here.
Oh,
I forgot about
man.
that too.
Yeah, you don't need, listen, as much as I love my predecessor, I blame him for much of that, as much as I love him. We used to say we were trying to cram steak down the throat of those that were eating canned tuna, but I love Lamar to death. But no, it's just funny. I was thinking about that because, it's so fanatical, right? You had the CAA with Delaware, and then you had the MEAC with Del State. Yeah, that's something, man. All right, so what do you got going on Monday's show?
We're just going to start heading around the NFL and talk
Okay.
about latest news and notes and rookies. Just which rookies going to be high impact. You talk about Love coming in with the Cardinals, and
Yep.
you want to see some of these rookies step up because they're being asked to play right away. A lot of these first rounders, especially these offensive linemen, the quarterbacks, and some of the corners.
All right, brother. I always appreciate you, man. And I always love kind of put you on the spot, but you always give a truthful answer. You know how to adjust on the fly, brother. We'll do it again next week. We've got to clear out the AFC, and then we get ready for a little BYP. A lot of win totals in the NFL. That's always going to be fun. Lloyd Vance, always appreciate you. Catch him every Monday, SR 1029 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. It's also on YouTube, on X. It is a must-watch football show. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there you have it. My guy Lloyd. I love having Lloyd on, man. He's the best. So I guess I missed a substantial amount. I mean, Maria has just been. I guess you can say Maria is a tad feisty today. As I'm looking through the comments right now, I got to go through some of these comments. Right, DB says, going back to the WNBA. If there's a new league for women, top talent in college basketball, gonna have a great option to go. I got to read off some of these other comments too that we got yesterday. I think I read that one off on Maria. Let me get the Independent for a second. We pulled that one up, right? To Sue Bird. I want to get to you guys because I love when you guys comment in. Tarazi, she being the elder statesman of the sport, should have been more welcome to CC. That itself would have put somewhat of the stop to the bullshit that CC has gone through. You know, the other thing is this, though, when you talk about it, and I agree, I think there's pettiness and there's jealousy. So a lot of these players, and Mike, I know you love the football stuff, Mike. I appreciate you chiming in. I see that on X. We tell you, we just want to break up a little bit. Jonathan Marshall, by the way, 405 on a little NBA and LeBron watch. But the pettiness and the jealousy, it's inevitable. And I don't expect, or to Maria's point, I wouldn't expect these former older players to step up for Caitlin Clark. I mean, you've got Olympians stepping up and speaking out. But, you know, the issue is that the elephant in the room is the leadership and the lack of leadership. I think we can all agree. The other elephant in the room is that because the league is so divisive and it's black, white, straight, gay, which again, it's just the reality of it, folks. That's all. It's just the reality of it. I think they really have to be very careful if they replace Cathy Englebert and they bring on a new commissioner, they better be able to get it right. Now, the other thing is this, no matter who they bring on as a new commissioner, I don't believe the players will be 100% satisfied. They won't. They just won't. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just the nature of the beast. It doesn't matter. You cannot please everyone. It's one of the reasons that I said the other day, at this point, and I know she's what is she, questionable tonight? Day-to-day probable with the back injury? She's going to get dicked around again with the minutes restriction? She's become such a polarizing lightning rod of a figure. When you have the commissioner of the NBA say what he says, and he's talking about political football, he doesn't condone how, you know, she's being treated, so to speak, kind of that pawn. When you got Congress making the letter, it puts more of a target on her back, and then you add in the element of straight, gay, black, white. I'm telling you, it's a firestorm. It's a firestorm. LJ chimes in, Q, you said this about 40 minutes ago. Do you really believe if they polled every single player, they would want? Yes, I believe that wholeheartedly. If the WNBA did this anonymous silent player poll, and every player, it was one simple question. Do you believe the league would be better off with or without Caitlin Clark? I believe overwhelming majority of the players, 85%, 88% of the players would say it would be better off without her. God honest truth. I got this message, a comment that I wanted to read. This was from, it's a little long-winded, but this is from at Allah, all about the truth said, I'm going to be tuning in. Your show is very informative. The main issue I have with the whole debacle is that it seems to defy logic. It's as though I ventured into a Twilight Zone realm when a different set of rules exist as to what is normal. I am black and I fancy myself as being objective thinker. I watch sports for skills, talents, abilities of the players. I don't care if they're purple, pink, or blue. Caitlin has a big-time worldwide following. Fans fly in all of places like Europe, Africa, Caribbean, Australia, China. I see comments online. All these foreign fans stay up late hours in the night and early morning to watch her play on television. No other player in the league has that sort of appeal. She's broken more records in college than Paige, Ozzy, and Miles combined. The revenue, popularity, fans she brought in, WNBA is unmatched. He went on to say, even if you think she is overrated, then outplay her on the court. Why do other players choose to play against her with so much, now this is a very key point, animosity to be brutalizing her while she's being flagrant fouled once in every 8 games? She should be a player who has a skill set, which all her broken records can attest to, that any head coach would build a roster around and take command of the team to guide them to a championship. The head coach treats her with total disregard. And he basically went on to say, I think the best solution would be for Adam Silver to step in, put a few or a new commissioner in charge, and enforce better rules. It's a really thought out comment. It is. And then the other spectrum of that, I'll get, a couple guys commenting in, I don't agree with anything you're saying. I don't agree with the use of racist and sexism used by the players and the commissioner on down. It's not a league. It's a social club of some sort. I mean, guys, talk to me for a second. Seriously. Talk to me for a second. Am I the one being naive? I really want to know. Like, call me out. Because it is a Friday. It's a Fraud Friday. We got to call out the frauds. But call me out. Am I being naive here? Am I? Because, again, I don't care if the player is good looking, she's educated, she's got appeal, and she complains. She uses to her advantage. What's wrong with that? Isn't that, people do that in life. If you're good looking, you use it to your advantage. If you're smart and educated, if you're a total package. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Now, the other stuff, I also believe a lot of it stems from the fan base. I really do. I believe it stems from the fan base, period. Jack of Trades chimes in. Q, I know that cut you played earlier in the show was that Humperdinck talking. Yes, she didn't give any credence to Caitlin Clark, and I played both ends of it. I hedged regarding that one. By the way, that's a hell of a handle you got there on X. I played both ends of that. Yeah. She was not going to come out and give any type of credit to Caitlin Clark because she knew if she opened her mouth, then she would have to deal with 95% of the league. That's all. And I believe that's factual. Listen, the job of these commissioners is not to babysit the players. It's not. It's not. The job is to grow the league, grow the sport, and do it the right way. There's always going to be issues in all these sports that we follow. We love sports. We love to have the debate. We love to call into question plays and the X's and O's and the analysts and all this stuff. A couple games here and there of her scoring 20, 25, 30 points, getting 35 minutes, back not being an issue, it's not going to remedy anything. It's not. And I think you guys would be insincere and disingenuous if you thought all is going to be well. Now, the All-Star break comes at a good time. Maybe she can calm down a little bit. And for those, again, you guys are always welcome to your opinion. I love when you guys chime in. That's why I want you to subscribe to the channel, comment, engage. We invite all. This is a no judge, a judge-free zone, so to speak, with the show on Q and myself. But I'm allowed to be critical of a player that I respect and like. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you have pressure like she has, they're young players. They're impressionable. So what's happening now is, to the commenter who had that wonderful email, why are the players playing her so rough, so brutal? Why? Because they can't stand her. Because they want to check her. They want to knock her down a peg. Because they don't like who she is. Because she doesn't fit the league's narrative. She's not what this league represents. She's not. She isn't. She's the antithesis. She really is. And that's not to say there's not talent in this league, because there's talent in this league. Don't get it twisted. We know that. But when you have a coach that is purposely sabotaging, manipulating you, when you've got referees that are not calling it fair, that's all I suggested the other day, and it caused a firestorm with the show. I'm not saying kiss her ass. I'm not saying placate her. I'm not saying bend over. I'm not saying that. She's got to grow up. She is young, but she's got to grow up. Okay? And I'm allowed to be critical of her in that aspect. But I also think, in the same breath, the league has pushed her to that blow up. You don't call it on me, but you call it down that end. That's a double standard. So with all that, for those that are like, well, you can't defend her in one breath and then criticize her in the next, the hell I can't. Yeah, I can. I can. Because you know what's happening right now? It's clear as day. It's like we talked about those quarterbacks before. The pressure on Burrow, the pressure on, Justin Herbert, the pressure on Lamar Jackson, right? You've got a position right now when you've got the spotlight on a 24-year-old who's the face of the league. The pressure is so great. You know why? Because she's trying to be perfect. I'm not talking about perfect on the floor. She is trying to be perfect where everything out of her mouth is perfect, where her play is perfect, shot selection, perfect, how she walks, perfect, how she smiles, perfect, how she handles the media, perfect, how she engages her teammates, perfect, how she doesn't bark at a referee if she doesn't get the whistle, perfect, how she engages with her coach. Everything right now, because the media has made it this way, okay? The fans have made it this way. These players don't ask for it. I'm sorry. She didn't ask for this. But now we want her to be perfect. So when she implodes like she did the other day, and I was critical of it because you can't give the masses any fodder. You can't. This is what happens. The pressure, the pressure, the pressure. It's getting to her. It's getting to her. This is not like a fight when we say pressure, right? Pipes burst. It's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's been created that she has to be the perfect player. Anything less of just doing everything right, she's not going to win. She's not going to win on the floor. She's not going to win when it comes to social media. She's not going to win when it comes to the optics, the perception. She's not going to win over the fan base. This is why I come all the way back to what I said the other day. Someone needs to pull her to the side and say, stop. You don't have to be perfect. You, at this point, don't care what anyone thinks. But it's always a firestorm. We're guilty of it. The fans are guilty of it. Media guilty of it. Television guilty of it. Commentators guilty of it. Everyone is. That's the pressure she's under right now. So yeah, she cracked. She cracked. She had a moment. But I still believe it's festering more. So if she plays tonight, and you know what's going to happen, we all know what's going to happen. And I haven't checked. I checked the team website, but the injury report wise, I think she's probable, right? Adam Silver comes out and says political football. Humperdinck doesn't even recognize her of basically saving the league. She's dealing with the back issues. She just had a blow up on national TV. They're due to play the Storm tonight. I would assume she wants to be out there. I would assume she's healthy enough to be out there. That one friggin' moment where she has a turnover, she doesn't get a call, and she has a blow up again, it's going to be the same crap we're talking about tomorrow. It's going to be the same crap. Tipping point, folks. We all get there. Tipping point. She's at a tipping point. She's at a very sensitive breaking point, period. She really is. And everything is magnified, man. Everything. This is an activist league. Now we word that they are not letting Caitlin play a FIBA World Cup in Berlin. We have tickets, hotels, and everything arranged. This will be disappointing. Nah, listen, I heard some thought that she shouldn't play, but I believe she will. I agree that the commissioner needs to hire someone who's into the business, not entertainment part of it. That makes a big difference. I'll continue on to my next comment, which you did, and I appreciate that. I tend to agree. We love ratings. We want the eyeballs, right? When you run a business and you understand the business and you understand you're an employee, there you also understand there are consequences to your actions. That makes a difference. Well, two things can be true. 100%. 100%. Two things can be totally true. Here's the problem. The problem is this. At the end of the day, this is what's happening. You've got every single solitary person coming out of the woodwork. Now, I'm a huge Angel Reese fan, by the way. You know, I mentioned it yesterday. And again, it gets taken out of context. Like everyone looked at Angel Reese. She's a thug. What are you talking about? She's a great rebounder. She's got to work on her game. She's got to work on her game a little. She does, especially around the basket. But she's putting up numbers and she's rebounding. But she's also the total package. She's a good-looking girl. She's got style. She modeled. She did the runway. Like, At this point, players like that, her, Cunningham, Clark, whoever, Paige Buckets, they shouldn't care what anyone thinks. Just do you. But if you're being treated poorly or wrongly, then yes, you're allowed to speak up. I have no problem with you defending yourself. I think you always have to pick and choose, pick and choose, pick and choose, period. Maria, you have a better weekend. You have a better weekend. I always believe when, I always enjoy when you come on. I do. Anthony coming strong. I don't think she's trash. Worst finisher. Listen, she has to work. I know worst blocked. I know. I get it. I understand. She can rebound. I'm saying, I think it's rough when you sit there and call players trash. I do. I don't think she sucks. I don't. That's just my opinion. I think it's very hard to say, when you start to say players are trash, there's a reason they're in the league, right? Smart, WNBA won't be their job forever. I think so if you see you planning and navigating intelligently for a future. I think a lot of these players want to, and they should. And what's going on, Heather? Heather Snoopy? I like that handle, by the way. But no, I don't think Angel Reese is trash, to be quite honest with you. I mean, if you don't like her, you don't like her. That's okay. She's having a pretty decent season, though. She's averaging a double-double. That's not trash. Her field goal percentage, I think, is up. She's averaging 15 and 11. That's not bad. If you guys don't like her, you don't like her. That's okay. You're entitled to that opinion. I don't have a problem with that. All right, let's I want to switch gears a little bit. I hear the shuffling and the ruffling. We were talking WNBA, which means we're about to talk a little more hoops, but we're going to take it to an NBA standpoint. And I guarantee we'll dabble in with a little. Well, I was told the last time, don't get him started on the WNBA as I get ready. You can hear him laughing in the background as I get ready to maybe punch him up in a second. My guy, Jonathan Marshall, joins me on a Friday edition on Q.
Trying to reel me in.
No. Host of Marshall Time Pod. Covered the NBA college, covered college hoops. Kind enough to join me for a few on a Friday. How are you, brother?
I'm good, Q. You see the background. Mentally, I'm here. It's like.
Well, hey, listen. Yeah, that's what we need sometimes.
Bad air quality, bad air quality. The lettuce and produce is like, it's just, I gotta go.
Listen, I'm sure you got to deal with the baby in those diapers. You don't have to worry about that on your head, right?
Life don't stop.
I will ask you, in a vacuum, give me that 30,000 feet view. When you look at the WNBA talent, the league itself, the refereeing, the commissioner. I mean, we don't have to dive into it too much, but I am curious because you do cover basketball. I'm curious.
Yeah.
How do you view this league? Do you look at it as lack of leadership and as a joke, or listen, there's something to build here, or no, man, you just need to tear down?
You don't need to tear down because it's disappointing because the main talking points when it comes to the W is Caitlin Clark. I see you brought up Angel Reese, but it's much deeper than those two names, right? There's a lot of talented young ladies who are showing improvement on a nightly basis and that are continuing to do so as a result of at the grassroots level, the college level, the way these girls at the high school level and the women on the college level are playing, like the skill level is at its highest. I've covered high school girls basketball dating back to 2013, and I've seen how the evolution of their training and just their skill level, especially the guard play, it's at an all-time high, and so it doesn't need to be teared down. But this is a crucial point in the women's game, and I would say that the W, from the conversations I'm seeing on social media, the handling of the national media or local media, I don't think they're ready for the light and the attentions. I think the lights are too bright right now for this league to handle what's coming with it, the Caitlin Clark conversation and what have you. I just don't think they're ready right now. They need some time to prepare and see how can we handle the extra scrutiny. They're just not ready for the spotlight. You want it, but can you handle it? That's the thing. But
hold on. But that goes to lack of leadership. Then they get her out. Get her out because But here's the difference. And people are coming at me when I sit there and say Jordan and Caitlin Clark, not comparing the two. Comparing the two in this regard, you didn't really know who Jordan was in college. Forget about the corner jumper. Forget about the corner jumper against Georgetown. You knew who Caitlin Clark was in college. You watched Iowa. You watched this girl shoot from all over the place. And I don't want to hear this. Well, she only came up because, her confrontations with it. No, no, no. Don't be disingenuous. So to your point, they weren't prepared for it. I get it. Then if that's the case, it's been several years now. Why do you not have a change at the helm when the NBA controls 42%? They've got a 42% equity share. So if you're Adam Silver, you can easily turn around and nip this in the bud by getting rid of Cathy Englebert.
Priorities. What is Silver's priorities? He's worried about LeBron making a choice so his partners, TV partners, can make the schedule, right? Did you see that?
Which is ridiculous.
Silver has a list of priorities, and if this wasn't important to him, it would be higher up. And so we'll see over the next couple of years what happens.
Yeah, I just my whole issue with this is that the officiating is horrible. It's a divisive league. There's a lot of inclusion, and I think you've got a player who no one can dispute the talent. She's a great player who has now reached her breaking point. And you and I know this from covering the game, from covering different levels, college and the NBA, from calling games all over the place. When you become frustrated and it's not going your way and you feel like your minutes are being restricted or manipulated, which they are because of this friggin' head coach, mind you, and you can't get in any flow, there's no continuity on the floor, what happens? You start to force your shot and then everything's magnified. She was clearly fouled the other day. She was clearly fouled. So again, people, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying she can't come. I've been one of the biggest supporters if you've tuned in on the show, almost to the point where people think I'm on payroll. I've been one of her biggest advocates and supporters. But you also have to understand, when you're under the microscope and the spotlight is on you constantly, that was the breaking point. No one's saying she didn't have a right to complain or bitch, whine, and complain. But the whole league, every player bitches, whines, and cries about the foul. It's worse than the friggin' NBA. That needs to stop. But my whole point with her is, if they basically had a competent commissioner, they invested in the officials several years ago, she would not be planted on her ass. In one vein, Jonathan, yes, she has every right to get pissed off when she doesn't get the N1 and you missed a call. Same scenario down the other end of the floor and they call. But in the other vein, she's constantly under the microscope. So every little thing she does is going to be what? Scrutinized. That's all I was trying to say the other day. But people want to take it out of context. It's always going to be scrutinized. She needs to be perfect right now. She needs to be perfect, because if she's not, then this is what we get. We get everyone looking at every single solitary behavior, like Wemby, right? Great talent, throws the elbow. He's a punk. He's a thug. He's a dirty player.
But
now you got
NBA is used to this, though, right?
Yeah,
every
100%.
other year there's a phenom that comes along, and we're still scrutinizing LeBron. Sometimes warranted, sometimes not warranted, right? But that's the name of the game when it comes to major professional sports in this country. Like, what do we like, especially for Caitlin Clark coming out of the college level? The hype and attention was at an all-time high. I mean, when's the last time we've seen a women's player enter the league with that much attention and just the conversation surrounding her? Yeah.
You know who I brought up the other day? Because, and Caitlin, we knew she was a great player. Even when she was in high school, there was buzz around her, right, if you followed her. But Elena Deladon, when we were in Delaware doing radio, Elena Deladon, she was...
Yeah, she was a huge deal. I think people sort of forgot about her because she left UConn to play at University of Delaware.
Because she did that because of her sister.
Exactly. And so that kind of limited the scope of her
reach,
being
appeal.
No, if you were a true basketball fan, you knew of her, and you were in the Delaware area. We knew of her since middle school.
Yeah.
But her skill and talent level warranted that much attention, but not going to UConn and playing for UD sort of silenced I guess, the attention.
And she's still a Hall of Famer.
Oh, of course. No, this was a girl who I remember reading in the newspaper and hearing Wilmington News Journal, lines when she was at Ursuline Academy in middle school.
Yes.
Huge deal, right? And so there have always been talented players. Maya Moore, Paige Beckers was a huge deal in high school, right? And so, but with Caitlin Clark, there's a different dynamic because she had her created rival in Angel Reese, right? And so the whole Caitlin Clark situation, honestly, people want to be honest, it's turning the mirror on us as a society and how we handle things. The way this thing has become so divisive, as you said, it's nasty.
It's repulsive. It is.
It's the way it's been using in a political sense, right? It's just, it's a testament. It's a
It's where
conversation
we're
when it
at.
comes to who we are as a society. This is
And
where
it's
we are.
sickening. It's sickening.
Yeah,
It really is
yeah.
because you can't like a player,
Hmm.
right, without being, a racist. You can't be
Hmm.
critical of a player without being a hater.
You
It's
can't
just
like both. Is it possible to
you
like both?
can't.
Can
You
I like
can't.
Caitlin
I
Clark
I
and
de-
Paige Beckers?
yeah, you can like whoever you want, man. At the end of the day, like
Yeah,
I say this, I get Jonathan, the comments that come in left and right over the last
yeah.
several weeks on the air doing the show, it's
Right,
utterly crazy. Like you can like a player and still be critical of her. You can like a
right.
player and still call into question like the antics on the floor, and you can also look at a player and say at the end of the day, I don't care white, black, straight, gay, it doesn't matter to me. If you
Mm,
can ball, you can ball. The problem is, as you alluded to, this league has become so toxic. I honestly
mm.
believe the league doesn't even like itself. And I mentioned this, and then we'll move to the NBA. You tell me what you think if I'm off base here. I bet you if you polled every single solitary player,
Mhm,
anonymous poll, except one, except Caitlin Clark. So let's
mhm.
say there's 500 players in the W, and you polled 499, and your question was, would you prefer if she's in this league or not? I bet you 85 to 95% would say we don't want her in the league.
I mean, would it shock me? No. Um, I think it's you gotta look at the human nature of things, right? She's getting all the attention. She's getting all the praise, right? So, um, with that, especially as an athlete, as a competitor, you're gonna feel some way about that, right? And so,
Jealousy, pettiness.
yeah, there's some jealousy. There could just be some annoyance, like why she's not the only player who is, making a mark in this game. For me, the frustrating part is what I led with. The 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 women's game is deeper than Caitlin Clark. It's deeper than Angel Reese. There's so many players who are entering this league who are coming up in the college ranks, high school ranks, who are just they're they're very talented. And if you
100%.
can if we can shift this conversation to actually the beauty of the women's game and how far it's come and where it's going to be in the next 10 years, I think for me that's the conversation I want to have. I'm
It's
tired of the Caitlin Clark. I have nothing more
No, I
to say or
understand,
add to
and
it.
I respect that and appreciate. The problem
Yeah.
is, it's also the quality of the lack of product on the floor because of the
Right.
officiating makes it look like you're
Right.
watching a game at the YMCA.
Yeah. And that comes with investing, right, in the women's game in the
Yeah,
WNBA,
yeah,
right? Like what is this referee pipeline? Like are they getting the proper training, right? So these are the things that the league and Adam Silver, the NBA, have to have these conversations. Is this league fully prepared for the next Caitlin Clark, for the next hype machine, to come? Because it's
yeah.
coming. Like these the ladies and the women at the college level and high school level, like they're going to be even better than Caitlin Clark coming up. And are you going to be ready to handle that attention that is going to be, needed? So
My
yeah,
my guy, Jonathan Marshall. You give him a nice little peaceful background, come off firing, man. My guy Jonathan Marshall, kind enough to join us, host of Marshall Time podcast. I know you covered Memphis,
hmm
Boston. Did you cover? What about when you were in Texas?
that's high school, Friday night
College,
lights, and
Friday
college, high
night,
school
Friday
and
night. Okay.
college, high school and
Now,
college. Yeah,
so I'm going to take you down the rabbit hole with me. This
I
whole
know where this is going.
No, no, no. I don't think you do. By the way, I don't think you do, my friend. I don't think you do. This buzz, the decision, right? The decision 2.0. The reason all this crap is going on right now, get in on the
Mhm.
conversation, guys. Chime in because I love when you guys interact and comment, like the content, subscribe to the channel, please. Um, this decision right now, pulling that Aaron Rodgers, we're going to hold the league at bay, at hostage.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is a smokescreen by Rich Paul because he realizes that there's not as much buzz as they maybe thought when it comes to LeBron James, meaning
Mhm.
maybe he doesn't have the cachet, the leverage of, every team in a league wants him. And that's why he's doing the tour, the content with Max. That's why he's dangling out the carrot. Am I off? What say you?
No, you're not off. I mean, I don't know LeBron, I don't know Rich Paul, but I can gauge and form opinions off of your actions over the years. And what have we known for LeBron to be? Does he love the attention or does he not? Right.
Loves the attention.
And so with this possibly probably being his last time to be a free agent, what comes with that? Being courted. having the media talk about you and having these questions and think people wondering, always being on the minds of the basketball fan. And so he loves the attention from my point of view, and everything that he's been doing, like at the is it the Fanatics Fest, and saying trust the process, and just think hinting Therese Halliburton saying year 76, like what you're doing, right? And here's my thing,
Yeah.
you know where you want to go at this
It's
point.
kind of a but it's kind of a dick move, to be quite honest with you, because all you're
But
doing is teasing a fan base.
are we surprised though? The reality is, if you're not one of Miami, Golden State,
Cleveland,
Cleveland, or Philly, Minnesota's been mentioned.
San
I don't think
Antonio's
you
been
really care.
mentioned.
Yeah, outside of those fan bases, I think these people don't really care. You're not really invested as much. Obviously, if you're a fan of the teams that we just mentioned, you're trying to figure out, okay, could he tip the scales in our favor when it comes to a championship run? And to me, that's the only thing that matters when having this conversation at this point in his career. That's the only conversation that should be had. Can he help your team win a championship?
It,
Outside of that, it's just like you said, smoke and mirrors. It's just media games. It's just loving the attention. That's
but
that's the only thing.
it's also, and again, 4:15 on the East Coast, on cue. Rich Quinones here. We're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Played Against Sports, and Three Brooks Bourbon. I don't care if he's signing jerseys at Fanatic, whatever the hell he's doing, but he is keeping the league hostage because Adam Silver's waiting to hear this announcement to decide logistically what they're going to do with the schedule. I just,
Yeah.
if you back me in a corner right now, it seems as though it just makes sense, Cleveland, and I think
Mhm.
I gave you the reasons why, because of the
Mhm.
doc.
Mhm.
Because at least he can get the real genuine, from that community and fan base and that franchise, the grandioso, fanfare, the tour, right? If you
Mhm.
will. That's what he wants. That's why he's coming back. He wants what Kobe got. He wants that fair. He wants what Dr. J got. He wants what Magic got. And he wants what all the all-time greats got. He wants the attention. He wants to be loved. He wants the flowers thrown at his feet. It makes sense if you're doing that doc and you're coming home again, or you're coming full circle. Doesn't Cleveland make sense? Or do you believe it's going to be such a wow, I didn't see that coming? I know Pat Riley's trying to swoop in and negotiate right now. Now they got Giannis and all this, but where do you believe ultimately he's going to wind up?
Man, um, I I go back and forth, and I think Cleveland and Philly are the two spots that make the most
You're
sense for different
throwing.
reasons.
Hold on a second. You're throwing the Sixers, and I threw it out 2 weeks ago to troll and tease, and now all of a sudden you're
Hey,
buying what I was picking up back then. But
possibility. It's a
oh
possibility now.
man,
Listen, I mean, look,
Ah.
that in basketball sense, which one's a better situation, Cleveland or Philly? If we're being honest, like strictly basketball talent, it makes sense. On you plug LeBron in this lineup, this can be lethal. This can be dangerous. He doesn't have to take as much of a load.
All things considered, you get
All
55
things
plus from
considered.
it, Philly.
And that's like if it's about competing for a championship in your
Philly.
last few years in the league, it's Philly. If it's for the doc, for the look, for the sentimental value of it, going back home, obviously it's Cleveland. Um, and so that's where I'm at with it. It's Cleveland and Philly. Miami possibly could have an outside chance, but outside of Cleveland and Philly, I don't see the upside in Miami. As far as what are you trying to accomplish, right? Um, yeah, no other place really makes sense for me. As far as the teams that we've discussed, because Golden State, that's the all unk squad. We know about age in the playoffs; it's not getting you anywhere, right? So that will just be a cool little. Last time I could play with Steph, could play with Draymond. Like that would just be a cool little a thing
Yeah,
to
I
have,
got news
right?
for you. I'm not staying up at. I'm not, because I get up at
Yeah,
3, 4. No, I'm not. No, have fun with
right.
that. So
Minnesota could be fun. That could be
uh,
interesting.
no, but
But
this
I
is.
don't. I don't see him going to Minnesota though, right? I don't see him going to Minnesota.
What
So
about Denver? What about Denver?
that would be fun. I just don't see him going to Denver. Q. Like I don't. I just don't see it. You know. Um. Look, I've. It's fun to talk about it. Could he go to Philly? Could he go to? Like, it's fun to talk about it, but for me, it's like LeBron knows what he's looking for and what he wants
Oh, we
at
know
this
that.
point, right? Um, does the family have a say in this? Does quality of life matter as far as the weather and these are things that are real life situations that you have to talk about and discuss. Um, Nobody can understand these things except LeBron and those in his inner circle. And so, what Rich Paul did with Max Kellerman and with the whiteboard, like it's all a show. It's all theater. Q. He knows where he wants to go,
Yeah.
like he
Imagine if
does.
there's no social media, none of this is happening. By the way, J6 on X chimes in. Q is his decision 3.0, not 2.0. All right, whatever. I mean, that's true. I mean, to be fair, but I appreciate the
Like,
clarification.
look, he knows where he wants to go. We understand this, but he's gonna drag it out as long as he wants. As long as he wants. Why? Because he can.
Does LeBron going to the Philadelphia 76ers, in your estimation, objectively, not being a Sixers fan, but
Yeah.
objectively, does it change the complexion of the Eastern Conference? I mean, the Knicks are still the team to beat.
I think the Sixers getting Jalen Brown changes things. Like even you take LeBron out of the equation, I still think the Sixers go
A
from
huge move, huge
question
move.
mark to
They fleece Boston.
you're
They fleece Boston.
yeah, you're a top three team in the Eastern Conference, all things being equal. Everybody's healthy, right? And so there's the chemistry situation. You got to figure out how is this going to work. But getting a Jalen Brown, a Dean Wade was a really savvy pickup. LeBaron Philon, who was a guy I mentioned before the draft, he looks like a real deal hooper in the summer league. And so Anthony Simons, like another great pickup. And so the way they're building their roster, this is a team that can compete with the Knicks for an Eastern Conference championship. And so you add LeBron to that equation. I don't think he messes up anything because he's the type of player who, with his IQ, his passing ability, I think he makes everyone around him better. You know what I mean? And so I think adding LeBron is just more reinforcements when the eventual Joel Embiid injury happens.
Do you believe at this stage of his career, 20 something years in, 40 something years of age, already won rings and championships and MVP, that he, like legacy now, right? The legacy's intact, but then I leave the debate for the others because I've always said this for years. You don't compare him to Jordan, you compare him to Magic. You just don't compare him to Jordan, but I'll
Yeah.
let people, whatever.
Yeah.
But legacy wise, what would it mean if he were to go like Golden State? We've seen them, Splash Brothers, the dynasty. They won before. Miami, he's done it before. He's won before. Should have won multiples, right? But if he goes to a Philly that just stacked up with Embiid, and you got Edgecombe, you got Maxi, um, um, you got Brown, you got a really talented team. Goes to a Minnesota, goes to a Denver, legacy. Denver's already won a couple years ago, but wins a championship right now. Insert team LeBron goes to and they win a championship. Do we now kind of elevate him a little more, or will the cynics look there and say, well, this is what he does in his career? He jumps. He went from boom, 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 boom.
I think at this point in LeBron's career, whatever side you're on, whether you're Jordan's the GOAT or Bron's the GOAT, there's no changing your mind at this point, right? So for me, I think when it comes to his legacy, look, you're the greatest of your era. Is that fair to say? Like of your era, you're the greatest.
100%.
So your legacy is that. Now, underneath that, I think if you bring a championship to Minnesota or Philly, I think that's just um,
Feather in the hat.
that's another bullet point on the resume,
Right.
right? Um, and also you can say I won a championship with Miami, with Cleveland, with the Lakers, and now new like that's four different teams winning a championship. You're just adding another layer to the record book, to your resume, and
But
so
it's also a different era of the NBA, is it not? Like, you're not doing this in the 70s and the 80s.
no, you're not, and but that's why I mentioned the greatest of your era because you know Kareem always gets lost in these GOAT conversations, and I don't understand why. Given his, if we're talking straight basketball resume, basketball career, Kareem gets lost in the conversation often. If championships
So does
matter,
Bill,
Bill,
Bill Russell,
championships matter, then Bill Russell gets lost in the conversation.
Oscar
Um,
Robinson. Yep, yep.
yeah, and so there's a lot of names, and we can never prove these things, right? We can't go back and say, let's put LeBron in the 70s, let's put Kareem in the 90s. We can't do that. And so I think a better, fair conversation is who is the best of during this 10-year period. Who was the best, right? Or 10. LeBron is stretching the boundaries of the era talk because he's been playing at such a high level for so long. But I just don't think his legacy is what it is at this. Like he retires now, his legacy is the same. He wins another championship. If LeBron is able, if LeBron wins, I think the way you win a championship matters, right? If LeBron is the number one guy for some reason for Philly, and he's averaging 30 a night, averaging a triple double, and he's just dominating the league.
Now you're talking kookie talk. I was going to say maybe a double, 20 and 12, but yeah, that would be something at his age.
Then I'm saying, okay, we gotta have a new conversation because that's like Mike. With
whoa, hold on a second. So he's option one come playoff time, and he's going to triple double through the playoffs, and they win the championship. You're going to put him on. You're going to elevate him to Jordan status.
I said we need to have we can open up the conversation. I'm still not so. Here's why the MJ Bron conversation is so difficult to have, because LeBron is nobody has ever played this long at this high of a level, right? Like that's is that a fair as far as
physically they're two different players.
But this is why the conversation is so difficult. When we're saying best basketball player, to me, the best visual appealing, the guy who did it at the highest level, shooting, defense, passing, athleticism, combining everything together, MJ will always be number one. If you put a highlight tape on of Michael and LeBron in front of like somebody who's never seen the game, and you say who is the best player, I guarantee you more times than not they pick MJ.
Let me ask you a question. Hold on, let me cut you off. Let me ask you a question. Those highlights we're putting on, are those all dunks? Flying through the air?
No, these are
because the air is different. Because remember, he had to work. He had to work on his jump shot.
These highlights are the best of your total game.
Defensive. You're gonna sit there and say Jordan.
You're gonna say Mike, because who else combined everything in this 6'6", just perfect basketball? Like, to me, Mike is as close to a perfect player as we're going to see. Like he's the archetype of a basketball player. Like, if a guy is 6'6", can jump in the air, can shoot it mid range, like it's fundamentally sound, nothing flashy, but it gets the job done. Like, that is, to me, that's the archetype.
But that's why I think you can't compare LeBron to Magic, because Magic was a pass first pure point guard. Right, offense. LeBron, point forward, right, can score the athleticism, but he can also facilitate this. Look at their body type. To me, if you look at their playing styles, right, the physicality, that's the comparison. But I guess because we're starved as fans, and you wanted someone to replace Michael Jordan. Is it McGrady? Is it Carter? Is it Grant Hill? Is it Penny Hardaway? Is it Kobe? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I get it. It's fun. It's bar talk. I enjoy it. It's barbershop talk. But I go back to what Scottie Pippen said 10 years ago. If you're going to make the comparison, it's got to be LeBron to Magic. Because you compare LeBron more to Magic than Jordan or Kobe Bryant, because their games were vastly different.
Yeah, look, like I said, wherever you stand on, nobody's going to change your opinion.
No,
so I've long been on the MJ. MJ's been my GOAT since forever. So it's not like it's just there's nothing you can do to change my opinion, right? And so, like, LeBron's legacy, it is what it is. Now, is he top five to me? Yes, I think he is. I think it would be ridiculous to say he's not top five at this point. And where you have him in the top five, that's another conversation. But Michael Jordan, to me, what he did from the 80s, ushering it into a new era and elevating the game and the league in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, kids, his sneakers are still selling out to this day. There's a reason for that. It's just,
I don't even put, to be honest with you, I know it's, and this is going to rub people the wrong way, and I don't really care. I think people look at their top fives are very subjective.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Kareem. If you throw him in there, Then you got Russell, okay, the greatest winner. Wilt was beyond dominant. You want to go Jordan, you want to go Magic. I feel as though people totally gloss over Larry Bird, who was a bad man.
Oh, for sure.
I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
So I know it's also, listen, at the end of the day, it's subjective because everyone looks at Jordan 6-0 in the NBA Finals. Could have won 8 straight if he doesn't play baseball, right? 6 Finals MVP, 5 regular season MVPs, 10 scoring titles. And to me, I think Jordan's path, because the 80s, the brand of basketball was so different. There was physicality involved, and he had to get over that hump, right? He had to start lifting weights in the offseason to get past the Detroits of the world, who finally got past the Bostons of the world, right?
Yeah.
The way the NBA's been over the last 15, 20 years, there's zero. It's Matador defense, man.
Look, you know, I wasn't allowed to see Wilt in live action, but I understand his impact, and I've
Yeah.
seen the clips. I know what Wilt was, right? A huge appreciation for Bird's game, Magic, Oscar Robinson. I mean, Tim Duncan, it gets overlooked when you're talking about this the all-time great top 10 conversation, right? So, like, there are a few names that have the right to be in this top 5 conversation. Who you have in your top 5 is who you have.
It's who,
Like,
it's who you
but
have. It's
but
who you have.
but to say LeBron has no right to be in the top 5 conversation to me is like you don't you're not the best in your generation. You're not the all-time leading scorer in the game's history and not be in that conversation.
Subjective.
To me, that's just a personal bias, a personal agenda. And to me, I'm fair in that I give the guys in the 70s and the 80s and the 60s they're just due. But I also have to say the guys in the 2000s, they need to have a seat at the table too.
They
And
do, but you know what?
LeBron is at that table.
You're 100%.
Yeah.
Your Jordan backers hate LeBron, and LeBron
Yeah.
backers,
Of course.
I mean, it's just I mean, I'm looking at
what it is.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you guys don't have to disagree. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's a top 5, man. It ain't life or death. Like, you can say your case
Right.
for a lot. There are a lot of players we didn't even mention. A lot of play. I mean, look, it's ludicrous to already put an SGA or Wemby in the all-time great category.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But this is what some of these talking heads do. Can you let it marinate and sit for a little bit? Is that
Right.
too much to ask?
Like let's put a Wemby hasn't even he's not Tim Duncan level yet. He's not Manu Ginobili. He's not David Robinson. Like, let's just when it comes to
I want to ask Angry Anthony. Right?
he's a LeBron hater. He's a LeBron hater.
Definitely LeBron. Anthony, fire off your top 5, will you? Fire off your
But
top 5.
here's the thing.
Right?
We know the top 5. His top 5 wouldn't be wrong. Who am I to say your top 5?
No, it's
That's
not.
the thing.
Neither with yours.
Because we know what the names are going to be. It's going to Kareem, Wilt, Bird, Magic, Kobe,
Jordan.
Oscar. So we know what those names are going to be.
He's a LeBron hater. You know why? You know why? Because he says LeBron has played in the weakest area on defense and the weakest conference.
Look, somebody has to dominate. Somebody has to dominate though. Like who? Like
oh, listen, you can't fault him for playing in the conference. But I will say this.
Yeah.
And when you start to talk about LeBron, the knock on LeBron, especially throughout the course of his career, always shied away from the big moment, man.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And then when people used to debate me about LeBron or Kobe, I'm like, Kobe is an assassin. He wants the ball late. And I remember there were a lot of times LeBron deferred. Now, you can also say, to be fair, he dragged a piss-poor Cleveland squad into the NBA Finals. Now, Anthony, don't get crazy now on me. I get it. It was a weak Eastern Conference, but who they have? Dellavedova, Booby Mile. I mean, they had a bad squad, man.
That LeBron weak conference is the same argument that the 60s and 70s fans get upset when they said Wilt played against plumbers. So it's the same argument, right? Right? Am I lying, Q?
No, you're not. Watch some films on Dr. J. Yeah, in the AVA. He's never in the discussion.
I'm very familiar with Dr. J. I'm very familiar. But to say LeBron hasn't been the best consistently in his like, I don't know. That's the hard argument.
No, you can't listen. I've been a very big critic. And you remember too, I saw LeBron play in high school when I was doing radio in Ohio. And I was like, who the hell is this kid? This is unbelievable. Yeah. And they're like, just wait and see. And I was a big LeBron fan because I just appreciated a lot of what he was doing. It just his talent.
Yeah.
Listen, in his prime, come on now. Like just stop. Now you got to start to pull, hoops credit, hoops cards for some people.
He got drafted in '03, and we're still talking about him.
But which that speaks to longevity,
Some
right?
of his peers, Dwayne Wade, come out like he's lapped those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
mean, I remember when I was doing the golf outing with the Jersey Shore Breaks that just played in the 9450. Shout out to them for winning the championship. And we were doing the golf outing. Chris Smith plays on that team. J.R. Smith's his brother, right? So J.R. Smith is a big time golfer. And,
yeah.
I had Chris and J.R. and we were kind of talking. And, I asked J.R. about his career. And I said, I felt that your career, believe it or not, was kind of overlooked on the radar. He's like, nah. He's like, you know what? I think I could have done a lot more in my career. And I asked him about a couple of stops. Obviously, we started to get on the Cleveland and LeBron conversation, and he basically was saying, he never, you're talking about the size, the imposing figure, like what he can do on the like when you watch it up close and personal, it's like it's hard to describe, I guess what I'm trying to say. Like that size, put the ball on the floor, go right to the rim, go to the rack, finish, developed his shot as well, short game, mid-range jumper. I guess the point is people speak very highly of LeBron. Like you don't have to like a lot of the stuff, right? And the flipping and the flopping and the going from team to team,
Right.
but this is where we're at. See, the other thing is, this is where we're at in the NBA. We've been like this over the last 10 to 15 years. Back in the day, Charles Barkley's not picking up the phone and telling Patrick to come over to Philly. Patrick's not picking up the phone and telling friggin' Magic to come to the Knicks. Magic's not on the phone telling Bird to come to LA. It's just a different era of basketball. And, some of the conferences are watered down. It's a little matador defense. Now you got the flipping and the flopping. I think they want to make it more of a high-scoring game to keep everyone involved and the bettors engaged, but the product's not like it was. And I think Jordan, again, just to kind of close it out, that era to me it's an era we grew up with, but I think that's when basketball was, when you watch that 85, 83 game. Yeah.
That was peak. So
Yeah.
I got two thoughts. One is a question.
Yeah.
So in the last 20 years, the last 20 years of the NBA,
Yeah.
how many players have the right to be at the table, the top 5 conversation? And who are those players? Because I think there's a thing with some people is if you played past 96, if you entered the league after 96, you have no right to be. And I don't think that's fair.
So
right?
wait, that means we dismiss Allen Iverson, right? Because he was drafted in 95. Right?
I feel like I think there's a thought from some people, from some fans from a certain era, once you're past a certain point, you don't have a right to, like,
okay.
so they reject the Bron, they may reject the Kobe, they may reject the Steph Curry because you weren't from my era
Okay.
where I love basketball, and so you don't have a right.
So no Vince Carter, no Dirk,
Tim Duncan,
no Parker, no Duncan.
but how many players throughout the last 20 years have a right to be at that top 5 conversation?
Oh, top five.
Like, how many players would you say in your mind have the right to be at that table to have a kind of to say, here's my resume?
Okay, I got you. I mean, LeBron.
Yeah.
Curry.
Yeah.
Duncan.
Yeah. Kobe.
Of course.
Yeah.
And Joker, Shaq.
This is what I'm saying. Like, so.
Giannis. I don't know. Durant.
Yeah.
Right. If you go 95, I mean Garnett, and then Dirk. Like that's to me that's your. No, that's 99. That's your top 10. That's your top 6, 7. That's it.
So I think when we're comparing, like it's the same thing in rap music, right? Like you have the Rakims, KRS-Ones, Big Daddy Kanes, the Biggies, the Pacs, but Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, like they can have they have resumes too, right? But I think so much of us we hold in certain era to such a high esteem. Like for me, it's the late 90s, early 2000s. Those are my guys. T-Mac, AI, Kobe, like those are my guys.
Right.
But I also got to respect to what I'm seeing with Steph Curry and the Joker and Giannis. And, like I got it. Like, and so these guys are special what they're doing today, but that doesn't take away from what the guys were doing in the 80s. These are the
No.
trailblazers. Bird and
Yeah.
Magic and Mike, Isaiah, it's like these guys set the bar for what we know what the game is today.
Right. And
You know
by
what I
the
mean?
way,
So
without the Gervins, the Thompsons, the Dr. J's,
yeah.
we don't know about, like the Jordan
Elgin
comes in,
Baylor. Elgin Baylor
like
isn't
Baylor,
talking like
Oscar
Jerry
Robinson,
West.
averaging
So
triple
it's like
double. Yeah.
this like it's so many there's so much greatness in the history of the game.
But the younger
Like,
fan, here's the thing though, to your point, the younger fan only looks at it's recency bias. If you get someone that's 25 years old or under and you throw out Oscar Robinson, you throw out Jerry West, you throw out the Bob Cousy's of the world. Hell, if you go back and you start to break down
George
the
Mike.
80s Celtics. But my point is this, if you said to someone, hey man, do me a solid, let's talk a little 84, 85, 86 Celtics. They have no idea about
Kevin
Bird,
McHale.
McHale, Parrish, Walton coming off the bench,
Dennis
DJ.
Johnson. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
They would have no idea that DJ, Dennis Johnson, didn't he play for yeah, well, guess what? He also was like 3 of 17 in the fourth quarter when he was at Seattle and then came back the next year and won the MVP. Like, people forget that. Wes Unseld.
They don't understand how dominant Moses Malone was. They don't understand how lethal at his best, at his peak. Hakeem Olajuwon has a conversation to be had when it comes to most dominant, talented big man.
And if you remember, he got to a finals very early in his career.
Yeah.
Olajuwon did, because Houston beat the Lakers. The Lakers were banged up. That was a miracle shot by Sampson, and they lost to Boston at 6. Karl Malone, there you go. John Stock.
Charles Barkley. Like, come on. What he did at 6'4".
But it's the younger,
6'5",
because the younger, they don't know the history, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't.
And so it's.
Oh, here we go. Hold on. Anthony's coming at us. Hold on. I love Anthony. Anthony's. Listen.
I love it.
We got it. Okay.
It.
MJ, Bird, Magic, Shaq, Irving, Olajuwon, Wilkins, Barkley, Robinson, Stockton, Malone, Kareem, Ewing. If LeBron had played with them, he would last 5 years.
Well, here's the thing. Though, Q.
Yeah.
And this is why I hate comparing eras, because you're a product of your era in a lot of ways.
That's the lot in life, brother.
The guys in the 60s didn't have the same luxuries that the guys today have. And so if you put a guy from the 90s into the 60s era of basketball,
Can you imagine?
what
You
would
got to
happen?
play every night. You got to play every night.
That's
You're
what
not
I'm saying.
traveling on private jets.
It's tough. The game evolves. Pistol Pete Maravich, what he was doing back then was like, what is this?
Light years away.
Now it's common practice. What Kyrie Irving's doing
The
today.
ball
Right?
handler,
It's
yeah.
common practice though, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if you grow up in a certain era, you're a product of that era. And so
Yes.
what do we have today? These kids jumping ship from their public high schools. They're going to these basketball factories, building dream teams. They're AAU teams. They're switching AAU teams to play with this guy. And so they're used to, since high school, since middle school, they're used to joining forces and building up these all-stars. This is just a product of the environment,
by the way,
what it is.
what's the difference 60s, 70s, and 80s, and then you start to creep into the 90s?
Mhm.
Think about it. The game now, it's more global. It's more global.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And I think the game is being it's the skill level, I can say, is definitely at an all-time high. When you talk about how many bigs that we're seeing today, where it's like you got to be able to shoot, run the floor, pass it, the vision. You know what I mean? Like, you had guys like that back in the day, but now it's sort of expected to be a top-tier big. You got to be able to have a little bit more skill set to you, right? And so I think we're seeing a lot of that. And so it's all about evolution.
That's
I think to be a true fan of basketball, you got to have an appreciation of every era, right? And so my era is AI on, and I watched MJ in the later part of his careers. I saw the last three-peat era of Michael Jordan. My appreciation with Mike comes from at a different place. It's at the 96 on. And so for me, although I hold that 96 to early 2000 era at the highest pedestal for me, I can't disrespect the 2010s because those are my guys. That's my age range. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate the 70s and what the Jerry Wests of the world, the Dr. J's, Moses Malone. I appreciate what those guys did as well. And so your top five is who your top five is. Now, for me, the best of your era the top 5 of your era, to me, that's a more exciting conversation. Who's
Right.
the top 5 in the 80s? Who's the top 5 in the 90s? And
Right.
so, like, to me, that's a more exciting
And
conversation.
again, what's it's extremely, what are the parameters, right? What are the guidelines? It's all subjective. I wish Jordan played in the
Yeah.
60s and the 70s as
Yeah.
opposed to the mid 80s, because maybe the Knicks would have had a couple championships, right? I mean, I still listen. I still maintain he doesn't go and play baseball. They're winning 8 straight. I mean, it's
Oh,
just unheard of. I mean, but
yeah.
we always clamor. We want the next, when the Mahomes of the world retires, right? When Brady and Man, who's the next one? It's just. I remember McGrady coming. He's got to be the next Jordan. Carter coming. Penny Hardaway. The injuries. Grant Hill. The injuries. I'm telling you, man. It's just Anthony just has made it
He's on
known
a
today.
roll. Look,
Anthony has made it known today.
we
Just
know
based.
we know where he stands on the
He
LeBron
is. I'll tell
conversation.
you what.
There's
He is the
no
biggest.
there's no
Listen, he is.
reasoning.
He's not a big fan of LeBron,
I
is he? He's not.
appreciate it. I
No, I
appreciate it
love it.
though.
I love the hoop stuff, man.
You
I
lean
love it.
into it.
I love it. The first person
I
to bring up
appreciate
LeBron
it.
as the GOAT was LeBron. Yeah, well, that was a problem. So, all right, brother. I know I held you for a very, very, very long time. Excellent stuff, by the way, with the
Yeah.
WNBA and Kate and Clark. It'll listen. It is sad because I can't even post a short or TikTok video with any type of insight without it going
Toxic.
back to straight, gay, white, black. And
It's
we
toxic.
understand these are elephants in the room. We understand, but I just want to be able to enjoy. And the problem tonight is whether she's a full go or not, it's going to be the minutes restriction. If she has a blow up, if she has a turnover, if she's 3 or 14, what's going to happen? Tomorrow, everyone's going to come on and you got to be perfect and you got to be perfect. And I can't do it anymore, man.
But that's a good idea topic for one of your shows. I think the top 5 of every 10-year period.
Oh, well, listen, listen, I'm telling you, we got the NFL stuff going on. We'll do it next week. And DB and Anthony can leave the charge, man. We know who's not going to be on his.
We know LeBron is not the top. We know that in the 2010s, LeBron
I got
is
Mike
nowhere
chiming in, Sarge chiming in, Will chiming in, Kevin chiming in,
This
saying,
was
"What the
fun.
hell are these guys talking?" Hey, no, I mean, some of them are like MJ, and then they obviously are like some can hate LeBron. Now it'll be funny because what's going to happen is when he makes his decision, that's literally going to be top of the news cycle. Bing, 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 bing.
But this is what he wants, is it not? This is what Rich Paul wants, right? Like,
Oh, hold on.
talking about me. Mhm.
Now hold on. Here it is. It comes out.
Oh wow!
It only took 45 minutes of the friggin' segment. The reason I hate LeBron, and he didn't say LeBronda, is because he's a disgrace to the game, unpatriotic, woke, fake, bows to China over American values. Listen,
Listen, you're talking about.
we're
If
talking.
that's the case, there's a lot of guys we could just
Yeah.
remove from the
Yeah.
conversation.
All respect, Ant, nothing to do with his play, and I'm the biggest LeBron fan. But we're talking about games, baby. We're talking about
I'm just talking
about
basketball.
games.
I can't vouch for any of that. But
Nah, it's all good. Great seg. Now, listen, fantastic
I enjoyed it.
segment.
That was fun. That was fun.
Fan. You got a pod dropping anytime soon? Or you still doing
Next-
diaper duty?
Well, diaper duty is always a thing, right? My Substack is still going. I got some exciting things I'm working on for my Substack, Open Gym, substack.com/Open Gym. We're trying to revamp the pod for next basketball season, so we're excited about that.
Next week we're gonna do a couple. We'll do different eras. We'll have some fun.
We're gonna open up and that to me that'll be fun. I think
Yeah, let's
the
do it.
80s and 90s gets tricky. That's gonna be
The 90s gets tricky because it seemed as though you can say 10 players were the same guy. The 80s are different because the game was different. So,
Right.
possession for position.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan Marshall, host of Marshall Time Pod. Check out the writing as well. All right, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right.
All right, have a good one. All right, there you have it, guys. My guy, Jonathan Marshall. Excellent stuff. I know we're winding down the clock, and I appreciate you guys as always. Don't forget, get powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee and chimes in. You guys with the hoops talk, I absolutely love it today. I love it, love it, love it. MJ was true standard on how to elevate the game. LeBron has never elevated the game. Subjective, man. Reason why majority still love MJ because he was the true standard of how to carry yourself as a player, as a person. I'll say this. Jordan played on some, listen, every great player, Batman needs a Robin, especially in the NBA. Now, is Jordan Jordan? without Pippen, because we know Pippen came into his own, not the 87 out of Central Arkansas, but grew up during those couple of Pistons series, right? The other thing is, here's the difference. I always believe Jordan trusted his teammates more than LeBron did. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. I always felt late in a game, Jordan would know right there, bam, right? Who does he have? Hodges hits a three late in a finals. Paxson hits a three late in a finals. Kerr hits a three late in a finals. I felt Jordan always trusted his teammates, but I also believe that stems from coaching. And I'm not talking about Collins. I'm talking the triangle and Phil Jackson. But Batman always needs a Robin. There's a show that I did. It's on the channel. It's on my channel, @RichQ, that you guys are on right now. Check it out. It was when the Sixers traded for Jaylen Brown. I made the comment that great players, even superstars, need a little help, no matter what. But it's very hard to dismiss what LeBron has done. You talking Frazier, the Rolls Royce backcourt, right? Him and Earl the Pearl. Think about a closeout game. Boom, 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 right? 36 and 19. I've never seen MJ leave games early when losing. Yeah, I mean, look, brother, you're old school, man, and I totally appreciate that. I do, because I love talking hoops on the show, as you guys know. Let me get into a couple more comments. Oh, by the way, if you guys get bored, I will be on Livewire Sports at 6 Eastern. So we're going to go a little heavy with the WNBA stuff, but I wanted to get into a couple more of these comments. Mike in Ohio chimes in. Q, it's my guy, LeBron. Akron, Ohio, all the way. The haters can hate. Billy C chimes in. Q, I grew up on Michael Jordan. You're right. Every great player needs a little help, but early on in his career, Jordan did things that I've never seen. Very fair. Lamont chimes in. Jordan, every day, all day, and twice on Sunday. Q, excellent segment with John. He got beat up a little bit, but he hung in there. Yes, correct. Yeah, and listen, I actually had, now Anthony, it's good, and I appreciate you being a first-timer commenter, so if you like the content, subscribe to the channel, pal, and share. But when I was doing radio on one of the stations outside Atlantic City a while back, I actually had someone come on the air and say Scottie Pippen was overrated. Now, if you were to heard that, you would have blew a gasket. And yes, I checked them. Trust me. Yeah. Jordan, had really great role players, but he also had players that he can count on in the clutch because he entrusted them, because they all bought in. And Pippen's a Hall of Famer. And Rodman is a Hall of Famer. Ho Grant was a great player. He had complimentary play. Didn't have that early in his career. Jordan had to do everything. 63 against Boston, ripping the heart out of Cleveland twice. The Elo shot. I still remember that. I'll never forget watching that game with my father. Just finished dinner. Elo off the inbound pass to driving layup, and they just left too much time for Jordan. That shot, and then I believe the series that they lost against Detroit, when he stole it, kept it in, did the reverse, and the 63 against Boston, he carried that team. I mean, he carried that team. 63 friggin' points in the playoffs. I mean, that team stunk. That team, if you go back to that 86-87 Bulls team, they were 500 at best. You had Curitan. Remember Dave Corzine, Mike Brown. I think they had Gene Banks. Obviously, you had Jordan. You had a young John Paxson, Brad Sellers. I mean, Siddell 3. They were bad friggin' teams. Now, LeBron carried a bad Cleveland team into the finals, too. But I always, like I said, man, I say if it's LeBron or Magic, compare. Jordan, to me, is just, and I grew up watching him rip my heart out, period. MJ, Walter, Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, Frank Thomas were the true standard of representation of the game. All right, well, I mean, you like the way they handle themselves. I know what you're saying. Barry Sanders never celebrated. Handed the ball over, right? Frank Thomas, the big hurt. I get it. So you look at that through a different lens, and that's okay. I watched a lot of interviews with players. There are 3 players that opponents say players would fear to play. MJ Co. People totally, I'm telling you guys, the young hoops fan has no idea just how much of a bad man Larry Bird was. Larry Bird would sit there and say, I'm going to score 50 tonight with my left hand. They have no idea how great Larry Bird was. Now, yeah, you get drafted, you get the wall-to-wall Hall of Famers. You know, McHale was a beast. Parrish, the Chief, was a beast. You know, you had the bench, you had the production, the guys coming off the bench. DJ was a great defender, you know, clutch buckets, right? Larry Bird was just, man, he used to kill the Knicks. Havlicek used to kill the Knicks, but Larry Bird always killed the Knicks. Pippen was very good, definitely not overrated. That's why he got traded for draft night. True, and you know what's interesting? If you recall, and I've said this over the years as we close it out, some of the best moves an organization make are never trading a player. Do you remember they were going to trade Scottie Pippen to Seattle for Sean Kemp late? Remember that? Love Bird when he played longer and a very funny guy. Larry Bird was the best. Larry Bird would be like, you need to come up closer on me. Come up a little closer. I had the honor of interviewing Larry Bird once. I had the honor of interviewing him once. And I just asked them, you know, what drove you? That's all I wanted to know. Like, what drove you? And it was a pretty simple, you know, just, you know, doubters, naysayers. Like, Larry Bird perfected his craft. He felt that people looked at him, slow white boy that couldn't jump. You know, Larry Bird had a little bit of hop before he had the back injuries, right? But Larry was just on a different level. Just a different level, man. But I remember I was just in awe of him because I was, you know, it was about a 7-8 minute conversation covering a game, and he was there. And I said, you know, and it was how he was raised, French lick, get up early, do what you need to do. But remember, Larry Bird would go to Boston Garden, and he would run steps, man. He would shoot 1,000 jumpers. Like, that tells you, you know, what these guys wanted to be the best. They wanted to be the best. In his prime, young fans have no idea just how great Larry Bird was. He was a bad cat, man. All right, I got to start wrapping it up. You guys have been just unbelievable. If you can jump on anytime, brother, and talk hoops with us. Anytime, brother. If you missed a segment earlier with Lloyd Vance, we broke down the AFC North. As I mentioned, tonight at 6, check out Livewire Sports. If you follow me on social, at RichQ on Q, I'm going to retweet it out. Also on TikTok, at RichQ on the mic. If you go to my TikTok, you'll see a lot of clips posted. Don't buy into the trolls because a lot of people are angry, but it's all good. Good stuff from Lloyd Vance, my NFL insider. Jonathan Marshall on the NBA. You guys are fantastic. Back in the saddle tomorrow just for a few. Then we definitely need a day off. Got the World Cup on Sunday. But if you like the content, if you like the show, please do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Share with your friends. And like I said, man, we welcome all the comments coming in. We love talking flat out sports and having a great debate on it. But you guys are fantastic. You hung with me for 2.5 hours. Unbelievable. Heather, you are the best. Thank you for chiming in. DB, Aunt, Maria, Evelina, Tanya, Joe, what do we got? Mike, Bob in Ohio, all you guys. Greatly appreciate it. Like I said, hit the subscribe button, hang with me, get the notifications, and I just love when you guys chime in. I love your energy. I love your passion. I love how we go back and forth with the debates. At the end of the day, it's just sports talk. Have a wonderful sports fight. By the way, be careful about the smoke, the fog, whatever the hell's going out there on the East Coast. But have a wonderful sports Friday. Yes, for some chiming in, my hair doesn't move out of place when it's humid. Have a wonderful sports Friday, and we will certainly be back in the saddle mañana on a little Saturday abbreviated edition of On Cue. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound, and as always, hasta luego, buen día.